Mr. Clerk, we have a quorum and call this meeting to order at 8:09 PM. Please call the roll.
Councilman Schwartz, Councilwoman Belcher,
Here.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Here.
Councilwoman Organ,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz, Deputy Mayor G.
Here.
Mayor Pagan.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 299-2023, sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2024 by way of resolution number 2-2024, filing a copy in the Township Clerk's office and posting it on the municipal building bulletin board, and the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good evening and welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting. Township Administration present at tonight's meeting are Dean Kaczynski, our Township Manager, Doug Roussillon, our Township Clerk, Scott Salmon, our Township Attorney, and Ron Goodman, our volunteer cable caster. For the public's information, we are currently holding a hybrid format meeting. We have people in person and on Zoom. If our Wi-Fi at the municipal building has an issue where Zoom meeting drops, we will aim to retrieve the connection and continue the meeting. The next televised regular council meeting is on May 21st and begins at 5 PM, with the public portion of that meeting beginning at 8 PM. The clerk's office will be open late on Tuesday, May 14th until 9 PM to accommodate last-minute voter registration applications to be submitted to Bergen County in order to be eligible to participate in the 2024 primary election on June 4th. Council met in closed session earlier this evening to discuss the following: a DPW update, cell towers, contracts, an ADA complaint, the township manager search, 1425 Teaneck Road, electronic smoking and cannabinoid products, parking restrictions, legal issues and opinions regarding items on the open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. Our first order of business tonight is presentations, and first up is a certificate of appreciation for National Telecommunications Week, recognizing our Teaneck public safety dispatchers. Mr. Kaczynski, the floor is yours, sir.
So every third week in April, we recognize our public safety telecommunicators. They are an integral part of the police department and play such an important role. And what we did is we wanted to recognize, we have 9 public safety telecommunicators. I think 8 are here tonight, ranging from experience of 37 years, that's D, seated up front, to 1 year. So we have a great group of PSTs, we call them. I put something together that I'd just like to read to the public, and then we'll call the public safety telecommunicators up. We have certificates of appreciation to recognize them for their service. And just so that everyone is aware, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we decided that we wanted to bring back the 911 public safety answering point to Teaneck. About 7, 8 years ago, we transitioned from Teaneck to the county of Bergen. And we found that it worked out okay, but certainly not the way that I liked it. I don't think there's anyone better than our PSTs that know the township well, that know Teaneck, the streets, the roads better than we do. So we made a conscious decision to try to bring back the 911 control center. So we were able to do that. We opened that up in January of 2023. We used about $500,000-600,000 from our asset forfeiture fund. It came at no expense. God bless you. Came at no expense to the taxpayers. I really think it's working out well. So when you call 911, you're getting one of our PSTs who know the town well, and you're getting a response immediately. I'll let the deputy chief say something in a few minutes, but I just wanted to read this to the public just to give you an idea of what the PSTs do and the importance to our organization. So 911 emergency services have been a lifeline for millions of Americans in times of need. When we dial the 3-digit number, we expect to be connected to a professional who can send us help as quickly as possible. However, behind the scenes, a team of unsung heroes assigned to the Teaneck Police Department work tirelessly to ensure that the right resources are dispatched to the right location at the right time. These are the public safety telecommunicators, and we celebrate them during National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. As I mentioned, that took place the third week in April. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is an annual event, again, in April, and the goal of this event is to raise awareness about the essential role of public safety telecommunicators and to honor their contributions to the emergency services community. Public safety telecommunicators, more appropriately called communication specialists, are the first responders to an emergency call. They're the ones that are responsible for gathering information, dispatching the appropriate resources, and providing critical information to first responders on the scene. These professionals serve as a crucial link between those in need and the emergency services providers who can actually help them. The United States has approximately, I think there's 6,000 emergency 911 call centers, and again, they're also known as public safety answering points. And these communication specialists who staff these centers must be able to work under extreme pressure, have excellent communication skills, and possess a thorough knowledge of the multiple systems that are required to use on a daily basis. This is why we celebrate the work these talented professionals do during National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, and the community can help support the celebration as well. As a citizen, there are people, I'm always asked, how do we express our appreciation for the 911 dispatchers? There's several ways to do that. And one is just to simply say, thank you for this service, send them a thank you note. I know that goes a long way. And another important way is to become educated on proper emergency call protocol, such as providing clear and concise information, staying calm, and following the dispatcher's instructions in the event you have to dial 911. Additionally, citizens can help reduce the number of non-emergency calls to 911 by learning the appropriate phone numbers to call for non-emergencies, such as to our police department's non-emergency number. In TNEC, the non-emergency number is 837-2600, 201-837-2600. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is an important opportunity to recognize the vital role that public safety telecommunicators play in emergency services. These professionals are the lifeline for millions of Americans in times of need, and they deserve our recognition and appreciation. The TNEC Council and the manager, we'd like to express our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to our public safety telecommunicators here tonight for their unwavering dedication and commitment to our residents. Your vital role in emergency services cannot be overstated, and your work saves lives every single day. During National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and throughout the year, we stand with you and acknowledge the sacrifices you make to keep us safe. Thank you for being the lifeline of emergency services and for your tireless service to the Township of Teaneck. To that, I say thank you. Council says thank you, and I'd like to give you a nice round of applause. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be here on behalf of Chief Andrew McGurr to help shine a well-deserved spotlight on some of the unsung heroes of our department, our public safety telecommunicators. These dedicated individuals are the calm voices on the other end of the line during moments of chaos and crisis. Their role is often overlooked, but their impact is immeasurable. I can still recall when I was a new officer and occasionally assigned to work the dispatch center. It was an eye-opening experience for me, and honestly, I found it quite challenging. Therefore, I've always had a great respect for the work that our dispatchers do. The level of skill and composure required for the job is truly remarkable. It's not just about answering phones and relaying information. It's about remaining cool under pressure, making split-second decisions, and juggling multiple tasks simultaneously. In fact, it's even more than that. Dispatchers must possess a varying set of skills, including decision-making, communication, compassion, multitasking, teamwork, emotional control, technological skills, organization, directional skills, and adaptability. Additionally, our dispatchers must operate complex systems and programs while possessing the knowledge to navigate a multitude of policies, rules, and regulations. Much like our officers, dispatchers come to work each day, not knowing what the day will bring. Yet they are always a lifeline for our officers and for the public alike, providing critical support around the clock. Please join me today and every day in acknowledging and thanking our remarkable public safety telecommunicators, both for what they do for our department and for our community at large. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I also didn't take a minute to thank the manager and also the council for providing our department with the resources to hire 5 new dispatchers in just the last year, filling vacancies in this vital component of our department structure. Thank you for your support, leadership, and investment in public safety. And thank you again to our public safety telecommunicators for all you do. Thank you.
So when we opened up the 911 Communications Center last year, we put together a nice plaque that's mounted right outside the office area there, the control center, and it just it reads, it says, dedicated to our public safety telecommunicators who are the unseen heroes of public safety and the calm voice in the dark. To the world, you may only be a voice, but to the caller, you are a hero. And that was dedicated by council in late 2022. So I'd like to just call up the dispatchers that are here, and I will recognize them. Dorothea Costello, D. Costello. She's our supervisory public safety telecommunicator and watches over and trains everyone. Next, we have Daniel Kazmierzak. Come on up, Dan. And Samantha, hopefully I'm pronouncing your last name correct. Morades? Yes, all right. I should know these names. I hired everyone. Lillian Thomas. Lillian? Hey, Adelaida Fuentes. Shannon Piscini. Sarah Bizzini. Sarah here? Okay, Sarah's not here. Alyssa Armstrong. And last but not least, Sanaya Burrell. Come on up. So we have certificates of recognition for everyone from council, and it reads, the township would like to express our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to our public safety telecommunicators for their unwavering dedication and commitment to serving our residents. Your vital role in emergency services cannot be overstated, and your work saves lives every single day. During National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and throughout the year, we stand with you and acknowledge the sacrifices you make to keep us safe. Thank you for being a lifeline of emergency services and for your tireless service to the Township of Teaneck. Again, congratulations and thank you for everything that you do. Mayor?
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes, I'm just gonna start with one trivia question. I think only one person's gonna get that. Badge, let me look at it. Badge number 204 and 294. Who are they? Right here, just check. Yes, we love our dispatchers. I mean, if you're ever want to join the ambulance crew, you'll see why. It's great. They're all part of it. It's just phenomenal. And so I believe, are we hiring more dispatchers? Are we always looking for good people, I believe? Well, okay, so tomorrow. But keep it in mind, it's a great way to get involved, to work with some great people. It's great energy, great environment, and you guys are great. Thank you very much. And I look forward to bothering you on the radio very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Miss Morgan?
So first I want to say this was my favorite Pledge of Allegiance ever. And you two Kazmierzak young gentlemen can come back and join us anytime. Thank you. To D first, almost 4 decades here. Wow. I don't even know what to say. You have been in my home. You've all been in my home a lot. On the radio, there's always one on in my house between my husband and my daughter. So we listen to you all day long. Dean was my training officer at TVAC also when I first joined, and I was very, very young and very new. And her calm and compassion and the way that she makes everything fall into place and seem like it's effortless. We're so lucky to have you and to have you training and bringing other people under your wing. I know that as a civilian, I have called the police many times, and your blood pressure goes up and your heart starts beating, and your calm voices really do make a difference to us. So thank you for all that you do.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to all of you and your families. So I was married to a 911 dispatcher in New York City. So I know the stress and the logistics of the in the moment phone call and, who are you calling? And as the manager said, having to keep people calm. So I understand and I appreciate very much the work that you guys do. It's important. And I know not always appreciated, but I want you to know that I appreciate it in this town and council appreciates it. So thank you to you and your families.
Ms. Belcher, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. And I just want to chime in and also say thank you. Thank you for your efforts and your energy, your passion for what you do, because you truly have to love what you do what you do. So thank you. And we're blessed to have you in our township.
Ms. G?
I'm also going to follow my colleagues' lead and say thank you for all of you do for the township. I think oftentimes you are superheroes that no one gets to see. And so today we get to shine a light on you and say thank you. And I'm so grateful that you're here today. And 7 years ago, my family benefited from your services. My son had a febrile seizure and, just having been through that and worked with a very calm person on the other line, I know that what you do every day is so important. So thank you.
So y'all help keep us safe. Y'all help save lives. And you're always the first voice that people hear during an emergency when they're scared. And so just want to say thank you. And on behalf of the 42,000 residents who call Teaneck home, thank you so very much for everything you do, because you guys are heroes. You really are, because you help people in their greatest times of need. So congratulations and thank you so very much. We appreciate you all. Thank you so very much. Okay, our next, and thank you, Mr. Manager, for that. Thank you, Deputy Chief. And thank you once again to all our dispatchers. Our next order of business is work session items, and first up is miscellaneous. Does anyone on council have anything under
Mr. Mayor?
miscellaneous? Yes, Ms. Goldberg.
Yep. So the Personnel Subcommittee and the full council met with the following candidates last meeting and unanimously agreed to make the following advisory board nominations. So I would like to make the motion to nominate Michael Rockland for PPREB Advisory Board, Christina Pami for the PPREB Liaison to the Field Advisory Board, and Andrew Gelbtuck as the TBO representative to the Field Advisory Board. Andrew Gelbtuck.
I'll second that, Mr. Clerk.
TBO representative to Fields Advisory Board.
And I seconded that, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Ron.
And you said a resolution next meeting, Councilwoman? I apologize.
Yes.
And that was first from Councilwoman Goldberg, a second from Mayor Pagan, Councilman Schwartz, Councilwoman Belcher. I think she's nodding her head up and down.
Yes, I said yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oregon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz, Deputy Mayor G.
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes, sir.
We'll see a resolution next meeting.
Does anyone have anything else under miscellaneous?
Okay, I'd like to make I don't know if I want to do it here or do it a little bit later in terms of the change of language for the resolution, or should I wait until
Yeah,
later, Mr. Mayor?
that would be under council listed because of the
Council, okay,
changes that were submitted
Changes, okay,
this morning.
sure, no problem. I can wait.
Thank
Yep.
you,
Mhm,
Councilwoman.
Thanks.
So nobody has anything else under miscellaneous. So next up is old business. Does anyone have anything under old business? No, moving on. Does anyone have any new business?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. So the public may or not be aware that the state legislator and governor signed into a new affordable housing bill with drastic changes. Now we have a lot to know, and it's a complicated piece of legislation that is important dates of information. So I would like to propose and see if we could do this, a joint open special workshop meeting between the full council, the planning board, and the public with a presenter on this topic for June and July. So the presenter can explain to all of us, the planning board and the public at the same time, what's in the new bill, how it affects us. We can ask the questions, the planning board can ask the questions, the public can ask the questions. I think with the master plan in the works. This is the timing is important. So I wanted to see if we can do a workshop meeting in June and July specifically on this topic.
Can I say something along those lines as
course,
Chair of
please.
the Affordable Housing? We have that in the works right now, Councilwoman Goldberg. We are working diligently when it comes to the actual dates and the assigned tasks from representatives within the township. We in our last meeting, we actually went through each and every date, and we did that. So I'd be happy to bring you up to date on that. I think that as soon as we are able to get ascertain from our affordable housing czar and from our financial entities, I'd like to do a presentation. My intent is to do a presentation to the entire council before we go forward with a forum. So that's the intent, and the subcommittee is aware of that.
Ms. G.
Don't we have an affordable housing subcommittee?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
so-
do, and that's what I was just saying, that
So could we maybe have them review the suggestion and come back with the timeline?
That's fine. I'm just saying that because we're having the master plan review right now, so we want to make sure it's in there, and there's a lot of complicated things. So I think the planning board is working on the master plan now. And there's a lot of nuances to this. Leonia just did this, April 15th. So I just think a joint workshop meeting, so it's a presentation, doesn't change anything to the subcommittee. It's just a workshop meeting with a presenter to explain to us, the planning board and the public all at once, what's coming, because there's some significant changes and a really quick turnaround time and the workshop meeting.
If I could
Yeah,
just
and-
chime in really quick, I support both ideas because I go to a monthly mayor's breakfast, and this is riling up leaders in every municipality. And a lot of leaders are worried that they're just going to have to build, or build higher. So as long as we address it, inform the public, and do our due diligence, I'm down with both. Ms. G.
Yeah, just clarifying, I support the idea. I was just saying, so we're not duplicating efforts. If we have a subcommittee who's working on this and has other things that might be duplicating efforts, it just makes sense strategically that they work together is all I was saying.
So can we have the subcommittee come back the 21st under old business? Because like I said, with the planning, we're doing this with the master plan. I want to do this soon. That's my concern.
So we have already established that, Councilwoman Goldberg, that we are, our first line of communication, of course, would be to the council. So the subcommittee is working on that, and we'll probably have a report within the next meeting. Okay?
I just think it's important for the public to be able to ask the presenter questions too.
100%. We will work on a forum where we can certainly address that. That's already on our list of things to do. So whenever you have questions, feel free to reach out to any one of us on the subcommittee regarding affordable housing. Thank you.
We're not going to do a workshop meeting. I just think we should. My opinion. My opinion is we should do a workshop meeting, but it's okay.
And
Okay
we're
with
not
all of
ruling
it.
that out. We're just going to go through the affordable housing subcommittee, who's working on specifically the dates and the timeline. So as soon as we come back to the council, we will talk about a public hearing.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you, Ms. Belcher. Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Does anyone have anything else under new business? Moving along, does anyone have anything under communications? Moving along, committee reports by council liaisons, and first up is the 2023 annual report for the Environmental Commission. I think you are the liaison,
So
correct?
I'm the liaison, but the vice chair is here and going to do the annual report to the council. Hildy?
Welcome, Hildy Dillon. Thank you for presenting the report.
Good evening, council members. So it is, I'm going to respectfully and with great pleasure submit the 2023 annual report for the Environmental Commission and give you top line 2024 goals for the commission. So last spring in May, the Environmental Commission participated in the Bergen County Earth Fest in Overpeck Park. We included a recycling game so that the public could guess which plastics are not recyclable. and a compost bin demonstration. We also had several people volunteer sign up to volunteer with the EC, many of whom have participated in our cleanups, and a few that are now actually sitting on the Environmental Commission, which is awesome. In November and December, we reviewed of 2023, we reviewed the first draft of the updated TNEC Environmental Resource Inventory. We reviewed a later draft based on our comments in 2024, and that is now completed and in the hands of the Planning Board for their review. And our chair, Joseph Gillers, will be presenting that to the Planning Board tomorrow night. If in the fall through December, we worked with the Fairleigh Dickinson University students to a group of students that were studying how to apply analytics to impact change in improving townships or municipalities. And they developed a garbage recycling and composting public survey for Teaneck Township residents. We collaborated with their graduate students within their calendar, which was a little bit tight. So we promoted the survey through the township website, Nixle, email communications from the township, social media, and through Teaneck community organizations. And our preliminary results were presented to this council by the FDU graduate students in November of last year. And based on the survey findings, we will continue to work with the Teaneck Township manager and the council to explore alternative options cost-effective for residents and the township to reduce the adverse environmental impact of our current system. Students analyzed the results independently from the Environmental Commission, and a summary and detailed report was submitted to you as well along with this report. Beyond Pesticides presented to the Environmental Commission in September of last year and to the Township Council in very early January 2024 about municipal organic land management and pest management and info about their other collaborations with municipalities across the state and in New York City to implement organic public land demonstration projects. The EC continues to work with the DPW to consider this and to perhaps budget a small amount towards this in 2024 and then to seek funding, outside funding to support that project. Beginning in the fall, beginning in November, we worked with the DPW and drafted a policy documenting an integrated approach to public green grounds and maintenance that includes efficient landscape design, minimization of water consumption, utilization of recycled materials and compost, eliminating the use of synthetic and chemical fertilizers for Teaneck's turf management program, and that was adopted by the council in February of 2024. The Environmental Commission unanimously voted to request the Town Council to pass 2 resolutions that were issued by the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, and both were officially adopted by the Teaneck Council in mid-December. They were to support the continuation of corporate business tax, to fund critical open space, farmland, historic preservation, and hazardous site cleanup funding, and also to oppose the expansion of the New Jersey Turnpike. As far as I know, both of these are still pending legislation, but our signage of these resolutions are in their hands. And after months of delay due to a stretch of rainy and really crummy weather in December, the Environmental Commission and the Teaneck DPW invited residents to a town cleanup. And despite that terrible weather, we had over 40 people show up, which was really fabulous, but adults and many children from every neighborhood within Teaneck. We picked up a lot of trash, and that stimulated a lot of encouragement. We had a lot of people show up on April 14th of this year as well, more than 40, and did another really good cleanup in nice weather. And our goals for next year, we will complete the environmental resource inventory based on any comments that we get from the planning board tomorrow night. And then that will be presented to council, and we will organize and implement well, we've done one more cleanup in October. And we are in the process, we have several volunteers on the EC that are working on updating our webpage in sync with the new website that the township will be launching hopefully soon. And we plan to provide public education on topics such as recycling and lawn management, and seek funding for pocket park initiatives in collaboration with some of the other aligned advisory groups, advisory boards in town. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Dillon, for your
Thank
report.
you.
Does anyone on council have any questions for Ms. Dillon?
No, I just want to say thank you to the Environmental Commission. You guys are doing a really great job, and I look forward to the rest of the year with you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dillon. Does anyone else on council have any committee reports?
Yeah, I have a
Goldberg.
PPRB. So PPRB met on May 1st, and they're working on a date for the parks tour. Sunshine Gardens currently has 11 registrations for next year, which is open for any interested residents. Camp Sensational before and after care is closed. K-1 is closed, and there's still space for grades 2 to 3. Sports and Arts before and after care is closed, but registrations are still open for the specialty classes. The annual playground inspections were done, and they're working on the fixes in the playground. There was also a substantial discussion about the number of children who are coming to our programs expressing the need for food and food insecurity, and it's pretty concerning. So I'm asking, Dean, can you have the social worker reach out to Lisa to connect them with those families so that we can get them the help? That's a pretty priority.
Sure, I'll take care of that first thing tomorrow morning.
Thank you. They also passed one resolutions. I believe they're going to be presenting one themselves during good and welfare, so I will leave that one alone for now. But the second was a request by motion that we also have our DPW and maybe the new fields board reach out and work with the sports leagues who are using the field to provide training so that they can help with the maintenance of those fields. So is it possible that we can have the DPW reach out and get something scheduled this month or next month if possible?
Yes, I already actually spoke to Mike Summerbeacon, who's in the audience, or Superintendent of DPW, and Mike's making those arrangements to have that meeting.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Mr. Schwartz.
Yes, okay. Two things. Cedar Lane Management Group, that meeting's tomorrow, 6:30 PM. It's open to the public if anybody would like to come. Secondly, on a subzoning committee aspect, and I did not realize my good friend Margaret Baker was here tonight, but I'm happy she is. At the last public meeting, there was a comment made by our planner that this was going to be the last public presentation. And in speaking with the subzoning committee and others, there's two things that we want to do to modify that. And in listening to what Ms. Baker has been saying over the years, how there's can always be more meetings. The subzoning committee would like to form but to have a council workshop. So the council can go through the plans, move the plans forward, but also continue to get more public input. And then the council as a whole could make their recommendations that we can then turn back over to the planner, turn it back over to with our redevelopment attorney and with the developer himself. So the council can own the project, listen to everyone, and make collaborative comments together, and work, of course, within the court mandated restrictions that we have, but not do it in a silo of just a subzoning committee and with no more public meetings. So if that's agreeable to everyone, and I imagine it is, we can work on putting some scheduling together along those lines.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Ms. G, did you want to say something? I think you said you had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Councilmember Goldberg's PPRB report. If you are interested in Camp Sensational, even though they are closed now, they are taking names for a wait list. So I do encourage folks, if you're still interested, to sign up for the wait list. And then I had one other report, sorry. So on behalf of the Advisory Board on Community Relations, I just wanted to announce again that they are accepting nominations for the Matthew Feldman Community Relations Award for either a youth, individual, or a group. If you know someone who would be a good fit for that award, I encourage you to send an email or a nomination to Cheryl Hall. Her email address is chall@tnecnj.gov. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to circle back to Councilmember Schwartz's request. So I think we should do the workshop meeting. I think that's a great idea. So do we need to, how do we do that? I don't know if we need to vote on it. Do we need to do the council schedule? What do we need to do?
We'll look at our council schedule, especially as you know, the council schedule gets later over the next few months. So we'll have that time. And I know meetings are precious and time is precious, but at the same time, this is obviously a large piece of property, a large project, and an important project as well.
Thank you all. Does anyone else have any?
Yeah, I would just like to chime in for a quick minute in terms of I'm glad to hear the zoning subcommittee is really working toward opening that up transparently to more input from the community, because I think that's vitally important. I think that also in terms of the affordable housing subcommittee, we have met, we continue to meet regarding dates and putting timelines in terms of the dates, the expectations of those dates. I will have a report as a result of having upcoming meetings with Frank Piazza and Associates to really get an idea as to some of the questions that we have asked from our last meeting, and also working with the attorney as well as working with our planner. So that is to come in a comprehensive report in the next meeting, the last meeting of this month. And lastly, I'd just like to say this: we're going to hear a little bit shortly from Stigma Free Advisory Board. They did have a very good county program, which we'll hear some exciting things about. I believe the chair is with us tonight, so I'm going to have him describe how that program went. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Our next order of business is council listed items. And first up is a certificate of recognition for Tamba Ali. And we are so excited to be recognizing one of Teaneck's favorite sons, who was an incredible student athlete who went on to achieve so much at Pennsylvania State University and with the Kansas City Chiefs in the National Football League, who just inducted him into the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame. And Councilwoman Goldberg, you went to Teaneck High School with him, correct?
So it brings me real joy to recognize former Teaneck resident, Teaneck High School graduate, class of 2002, Tamba Ali. I have the privilege not only to recognize Tamba as a member of this council with Mayor Pagan, but also as a member of Teaneck High School graduating class of 2002 myself. I'm not sure if Tamba's on Zoom right now. He mentioned he was going to try, but it's a 4-hour difference. He's in Liberia, but I'm very happy to have his father, Mr. Ali, here. In addition to his family, Tamba always had immense respect for Teaneck High School football coach, Coach Heck. And while he's in Italy at the moment, he asked me to read this statement. I would like to thank the Teaneck Township Council for recognizing Tamba for his outstanding achievements both on and off the field. Over the years, I've coached and mentored many student athletes, and Tamba has achieved great success in his life and has made me very proud. Tamba is relentless in all of his endeavors and has been rewarded with his dedication with his prestigious honor being bestowed on him by the Kansas City Chiefs. Coach Heck literally taught Tamba how to play football, and he stood by him, and he knew the expectation that education was first, but football was a bonus. And by the time we graduated, Tamba had 68 scholarships, but he chose Penn. Tonight, we're recognizing Tamba for his incredible achievement for his induction into the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame as the 53rd inductee. Tamba played for the Chiefs as linebacker and defensive end his entire 12-year career, and Tamba was a first-round draft pick for the Chiefs in 2006, quickly became one of the greatest defensive players in the Chiefs' history. Tamba's story is not just on the field, but it's a story of coming to the United States and also is very inspirational in Teaneck. He was born in Liberia, and his father was here working, trying to bring him and his siblings to the United States, and he escaped the Civil War in Liberia at the age of 10. I remember hearing throughout the halls in Teaneck High School how important it was for him to bring his mother here. Tamba never forgot where he came from, and he donated $50,000 to the construction of a 70-bed Ebola treatment in West Africa. And Tamba made sure to give back right here in Teaneck. He donated shoes to the entire Teaneck High School football program in the past. When the program was at risk for being cut, Tamba financed the Teaneck High School freshman football team with a $15,000 gift and $40,000 to complete field facility upgrades and built the Teaneck High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Tamba's remarkable journey has molded him into a man of integrity, resilience, and determination, and we join him in the celebration of his induction into the Chiefs Hall of Fame as his Teaneck family, and we are all cheering on him. Tamba has exemplified the beauty and true heart of what Teaneck is, and it's a true honor to recognize him tonight. Congratulations, Tamba and Mr. Hali and Sa and the whole family.
Say something.
Good evening. My name is Henry Halley. The date is January 5th, 1978, when I came to Teaneck. I did go back. I came to do my graduate work at Fairleigh Dickinson University in chemistry, and I returned to Liberia. And then I returned for good in 1985. So I have lived longer in Teaneck. This is the only town I know in America than any other town. As was read, Tamba came with his siblings, and 3 of them were of age to go to school. His sister was in the 2nd grade, Tamba in the 5th grade, and Sa in the 6th. I had Sa in the 6th grade for 2 years because he didn't do well. So the 2 of them graduated in 2002. Of course, Sa never regretted. And the rest is history. I want to thank the council for recognizing him. I'm sorry he's not here today. He's in Liberia, but I hope I will present this to him. And I brought the last of my children, Mamadou Sahali. He is in the 8th grade. He will be in the 9th grade. And the first, my stepson, Warner Lewis. Thank you very much.
Does anyone on council want to say anything? Anyone? Deputy Mayor G.
Sure. Thank you so much for being here to represent Tamba. We could not be more proud that he is out in the world representing Teaneck and showing what greatness can come from Teaneck. Thank you for choosing Teaneck. We're so proud of him and so grateful for your family. Thank you.
Yeah, I also just
Mr.
want to
Schwartz.
chime in.
I didn't go to Teaneck High School. I didn't play football. Torrey Academy, where I did go to school, doesn't have a football team. So we always wanted a football team, but I wouldn't do good anyway. So, congratulations. You did a great job raising your children, all your children. And thank you for making Teaneck your only home.
Right,
Anyone
Mr. Mayor,
else on council?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to chime in if I could. I just want to say, coming from a football high school and football college, I know how people are very, very passionate about football. I just want to say congratulations to your family, to your son. Thank you for all that he's done to represent our township, and we wish him all the best as he pursues his career.
And thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for sharing with us the story of giving back to the community. And I think we can see where your son learned that. So we're very grateful that we were able to hear. We call this the good stuff, and thank you.
All right, let's see. Next order of business. Second council listed item, proposed resolution, Mental Health Awareness Month, Stigma-Free Community. Councilwoman Belcher, the floor is yours,
Yes.
ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have with us the chair of Stigma Free Advisory Board. If Jose, if you could come up, Jose Zinin is the chair of the advisory board, and we're happy to have him here tonight. I just want to say that May, I'll start by saying that May is Mental Health Month, and we certainly want to acknowledge that because there are many, many, many opportunities and resources within our community that Jose is going to share a little bit about.
Mr. Zenon, the floor is yours, Chair.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members and Township Manager for your service. My name, as the councilwoman stated, my name is Jose Zenon. I'm a 15-year resident, and I'm the chairperson of Township Council's Stigma Free Advisory Board. I'm here with another member, shy member, Nancy. She's also a member of the Stigma Free Advisory Board. I want to extend my gratitude to our board liaison, Denise Belcher, for presenting the TNEC Mental Health Awareness Month resolution during this month, Mental Health Awareness Month. TNEC stigma-free efforts constitute a town-wide program aimed at reducing the stigma associated with mental illness. Our goal is to raise awareness of mental illness and create a supportive community where residents feel comfortable seeking treatment without fear of stigma. Mental illness encompasses a range of disorders affecting mood, thought, behavior, from depression, anxiety, substance use disorder, and bipolar disorder. It can affect anyone regardless of age, race, religion, and income. Throughout the month of May, we wear green, symbolizing the Mental Health Awareness Month, advocating for support, resources, and reduce stigma. This month provides an opportunity to educate the public, promote mental wellness, and encourage prioritizing mental health. In these challenges time, this effort is critical. Our township provides various resources through the Department of Health and Human Services, Social Service Department, as well as the County and State Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services, including Bergen County Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services, Bergen County Division and Family Guidance, Jewish Family and Children's Services of Northern New Jersey, and the National Alliance of Mental Illness. These are just a few local, county, and state resources available. More information will be posted on the TNEC website throughout the month, and hard copies, I think Doug printed some. I bought some more. Hard copy are listed on the website and available here in the council chamber. In closing, I'd like to share one profound quote. Mental illness is nothing to be ashamed of, but stigma and bias shame us all. So let us remember that our township of TNEC is proud to be stigma-free. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Zenon. Ms. Belcher?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zenon. Thank you so much. I think it's so vitally important that we do post those resources on our township website so that our residents are aware of all the phenomenal opportunities that might be that are out in the community for both on the township level as well as the county level. So here again, thank you so much for coming out and telling us about those resources.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. The next council listed item is a
Councilwoman Belcher, I apologize. Did you have a resolution that you wanted to add to the consent agenda for that item?
The Mental Health Awareness Month?
Right, for Mental Health Awareness
Yeah.
Month. It is in the package. I'm just going to reference the first and the last stigma stanza of it. It's basically, where's the TNEC Stigma Free Advisory Board, the Township of TNEC Council and the Township Manager, along with the Township Department of Health Services and TNEC Office of Social Services, supports the designation of stigma-free zones in every municipality, and TNEC being one is proudly stigma-free, whereas establishing stigma-free zones will raise awareness of resources and encourage TNEC residents to engage in care as soon as the need is identified so recovery can begin, hope is inspired, and tragedies are avoided. And now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Teaneck recognizes and declares the month of May Mental Awareness Health Month, and we are stigma-free. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher.
Do you need a motion to move that to the consent agenda? I'll move it.
I'll second that.
Councilman Schwartz. Councilwoman Belcher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Yes.
Councilman Organ.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G.
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes.
Added to the consent agenda as resolution number 136-2024.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next council listed item is a proposed resolution, amendment resolution. I put this on because I would actually like to make a motion to nominate Councilwoman Organ to serve as the Fields Advisory Board Liaison.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Belcher.
for the benefit of the public, can you just explain the Field Advisory Board and what it does, and so therefore those people would understand.
Sure. Real quick, we have a lot of fields, multiple fields throughout the township. Some are better taken care of than others just because there's so much work to do. And so we established a field advisory board where we have people from every different league, as well as the Board of Education and the DPW, to basically tell us what's going on with our fields. So that when something's wrong, whether it's flooding, whether it's needing new turf, whether it's needing fresh, whatever it might need, our fields advisory board and our liaison will keep us abreast of that. And then our goal is to fix that, whatever it might be, so that our kids can play on their fields. All right, so Mr. Clerk, we have a first and a second.
Sorry, Councilman Schwartz. Councilwoman Belcher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Yes.
Councilman Organ.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G.
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes.
Added as resolution 137.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next council listed. Next to,
Mayor Pagan.
please, can you,
Yeah.
what is that sound? Can you please turn it off? Whatever that sound is, please turn it off. We have business to conduct for the township. The next council listed item is proposed language change Arab Heritage Month. Councilwoman Belcher, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Mayor, from the last meeting, we had put forth a resolution that was sent to us from the community for Arab American Heritage Month. And I since then have received a number of different resolutions, I guess, because the actual month is April. And so a number of different residents had reached out and sent me different resolutions that kind of really just underscores the accomplishments and the nature of what Arab Americans within our community have contributions that they've made. And I inadvertently put up last Thursday the one with the not quite the right wording. So what I'm making a motion right now to change the wording to the original one that we saw on April 16th. And it is the proposed resolution for to end anti-Arab hate and recognize Arab American Heritage Month. I'd like to move that this be inserted as the resolution in recognition of Arab American History Month for the month of April.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I think, oh, sorry.
No, it just, this wasn't the resolution that we originally got. When did the resolution that was in the consent agenda that we agreed to?
Yeah, this was
Where?
originally received by us on April 16th. It was sent out to all council members on April 16th.
So I didn't see this one. I was at work until the meeting today. You
Yeah,
switched
this
one
one
out for the other one?
Yeah, this one actually was proposed to us and sent to the entire council on April 16th. And if you remember last month, we said we would take it up again in the next meeting, meaning this meeting. So I had put forth one that was a little bit less in length, not as comprehensive. This one was put forth by a number of Arab American residents to represent, their lived experience. It's more comprehensive in terms of the contributions that they've made to our community and so forth. So my motion is simply to use this in honor of Arab American Heritage Month.
So I haven't read this one yet, so I would have to abstain.
Mr. Schwartz.
Can we read that and go over when under agendas later? Because the one we got was excellent. First of all, I think we really need to note the calendar. It's an important Heritage Month and it should really be addressed in March and April for next year. And Mr. Clerk, I know we discussed it last time.
This
It's embarrassing.
this was actually submitted on April 16th. If you look at your email for April 16th, this
I'll
was sent to
gladly
the
do it for
all
discussion.
council.
I'd like to amend the motion then, so we add it, not replacing the resolution, but adding it as an additional resolution, because I think
Later.
the motion was, the resolution.
I'm
was
fine,
repla-
I'm
motion
fine
was
with that. I'm,
replacing it.
I'm
Wait,
I'm
wait,
fine
one-
with that. We can add
One
it as
person
an
at a time, please.
additional.
One person at a time. Ms. Belcher,
Wait,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with having two resolutions for Arab American History Month. I'm 100% fine with that. So I will alter my motion to ask that we pass both of these resolutions in recognition of Arab American Heritage Month, both of them. Do I have a second?
Mr. Clerk, Mr. Attorney, are you guys following along? 'Cause I'll be very honest, with you, I'm getting a little.
I made
you
I think the motion was to go on the consent agenda, so I said to add, there's one on the consent agenda. So I modified the motion to add this one as a separate resolution to the consent agenda.
Okay,
Yes.
Ms. G.
I don't think we need to. I think the more detailed one is sufficient to cover the one and the smaller one. And my concern is if we do two, that we're not all going to support both, which will, I think, send a horrible message to the community. So I would prefer if we just do the more detailed one rather than two.
Yeah, I think we already have a first and a second, Mr. Schwartz.
We have First and a second, I have a resolution we got days ago. It looks great. Let's just.
Yeah,
let's
and
swim
just
through our
so I can be
resolutions.
clear before we actually have a vote, I was gonna vote and I will be supporting the Arab Heritage Month resolution that I saw in the agenda that I've been looking at for the past 4 or 5 days. But, okay, there's a first and a second to add
So
this
the-
one to the consent agenda as
No,
well.
no, there was
No,
a first and a
I modified
second.
I made a
Fair.
motion to add this to the consent agenda in addition to the one that's on the consent agenda again. So that's my motion.
You guys understand?
So the motion is to amend the current one that's on the, as a council listed item. That's the motion that's currently on the floor.
Okay, but Mr.
repeat that?
Mr. Attorney, what about the very first one? Are we going to just ignore that first one? The first motion with the first and a second?
So this is a motion to amend that. So that takes that you then you vote on the motion to amend first, and then you vote on the main motion, depending on the results of the motion to amend. So because this was put on as a council listed item as a language change, this was to replace the one that's currently on the agenda. It sounds like the motion to amend is to change it from a language change to just a proposed resolution, which will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Mr. Clerk, you got that?
Does that make sense? Yes, yeah, okay. So the amendment would then put two different things on the consent agenda. That's just
Well,
what the amendment would do.
there's a first and a second, so we have to call the roll.
And so who was that first? Please remind me. Was that Councilwoman Goldberg for this amendment? And then who was the second?
There was no second on that one.
Councilman Schwartz, Councilwoman Belcher,
Yes,
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G,
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes.
All right, so this council listed item is being added to the consent agenda as resolution number 138. 138. Right? Yes,
think you're right.
138-2024. Apologies, 138.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Our next order of business is the Township Manager's Report. Mr. Kaczynski, the floor is yours, sir.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple things to cover here. I'm going to cover some announcements first. I put some flyers on the on the table. The first one is in English, Spanish, and Korean. That contains information about the Bergen County Home Improvement Program. This is a great program. It's interest-free, non-monthly payment loan, and it's really for home improvement, and the payment is only due when a house is sold or title is changed. So please take a copy if you're interested in that program. We had disaster shelter training take place on April 25th. We had about 20 Teaneck residents participate. And these volunteers are going to help the township when the Rhoda Center needs to be set up as a transitional shelter in the event of a catastrophic event in town. There's also flyers on the table for, it's called Strollers and Sneakers. I brought this up before. It's an event sponsored by the township and Holy Name Medical Center in honor of Maternal Health Month. There are 3 event dates. One is May 10th, the other is the 17th, and also the 24th. Another announcement on Tuesday, May 14th, we're going to be doing 10 a.m. a vehicle dedication and blessing. That's going to take place at Brett Park. We're going to have clergy on hand to bless our new vehicles and equipment for our DPW and police department. It's open to the public. Brett Park is next to 1600 River Road. So we're going to have 15 vehicles that we will dedicate and bless, and also 2 large pieces of equipment. So feel free to come out and join us on that special day. Reminder, the Township's Memorial Day ceremony takes place on Monday, May 27th at 11 a.m. And then that's followed by the annual Cedar Lane Memorial Street Fair, which starts at noon. The Township once again earned recognition as 2023 Tree City USA for making the planting of trees a priority in town. Also, Atlantic Coast Fibers is now open. If the public recalls, this facility was the plant that we sent our recycling material to. It burned down, I believe it was about 3 years ago. And the town should see a significant price reduction in fuel and tipping costs for now going to Atlantic Coast Fiber, which reopened. We're finalizing the Rossi, and we shared our final comments with DEP. So that's moving along nicely. Just so the public knows, PSC&G is going to be conducting electric reliability improvements, and this is taking place at the substation near the Rhoda Center. Equipment's going to be upgraded from now through 2026.
Can you please turn that off? We're trying to conduct a meeting. Please turn that off. Sorry about that, Mr. Manager.
It's okay.
Mr. Mayor, are signs allowed?
Yeah, can you please turn that off? Please turn that off. Sorry about that, Mr. Manager. Please continue.
Work's going to impact the area for the next 2 years to the substation. There's going to be some temporary fencing that's going to be installed that's going to prevent access to that sidewalk in front of the substation. There was a fire there, I guess, about 1.5 years ago. So these are necessary repairs, and it's going to be redundant work to make sure that if there is a power failure, everyone retains power. The Hackensack River Greenway, Doug, I don't know if you have that slide available. So work on the Anderson Street Cedar Lane Bridge is going to commence probably within the next year. And we've been working with the county, with Hackensack, the state on this project very closely. But I just wanted the public to be aware when this project does start, the Cedar Lane entrance to the Greenway will be closed, so you will not be able to access that Greenway. Where you see that arrow pointing, that's the entrance off of Cedar Lane right before the Cedar Lane Anderson Street Bridge. So that will be closed once that work begins, but everyone will be able to get access at the southern end of Amanda Walk. Thanks, Doug. Also, there's a large civil service job fair taking place at Ramapo College on Tuesday, June 18th from 10 to 2. There's going to be 24 vendors. The state's going to be represented, several counties, Department of Corrections, police department. So the flyer is on the table there. I would suggest anyone looking for some sort of civil service employment to make an attempt to make that job fair on June 18th from 10 to 2. Some project updates. I'm happy to report that North Jersey Land Care is doing an excellent job maintaining our ball fields this season. They're going to continue maintenance until November. The Teaneck Southern Little League project, it remains on track, and that should be completed around the 1st or 2nd week of June. I'm working actually with Mr. Sermon Beacon, who's here tonight. He's working with Viking Pest Control to combat the lanternfly problem that we have in town. The town received, I believe it was a $20,000 grant, so we're putting something together to help out with that cause. DPW is preparing the pool and the splash pad for opening. The splash pad opens the weekend of May 25th. The splash pad and pool open 7 days a week, and that's going to start on June 15th. All the park sprinklers open on June 24th. All of that material is in our Teaneck Times recycling calendar. We're going to be replacing all the lights at the Voti Park tennis courts. The project is going to be awarded this evening. The Voti Park North restroom is ordered. We're waiting delivery for that, and that's a prefab structure. Work on the new Voti Park shade and shelter by the splash pad starts this week. That will take a few weeks to get done. Milling, paving, and drainage work on Pike Lane from Teaneck Road to Glenwood Avenue. It's going to take place late summer. We received a $550,000 Department of Transportation grant. Our engineering department is preparing our stormwater infrastructure map, and that's using a $95,000 DEP grant. Herrick Park renovations, that's going to take place in 3 phases, Mr. Mayor. The splash pad and the prefab bathroom are going to be advertised this Friday. And we're going to advertise soon for the new playground, as well as the new basketball courts and baseball field in Herrick Park. As you're aware, we received a $750,000 grant from Green Acres. We have some money from the townhouse project. I think it was 120,000 plus in capital. We set aside a certain amount of money to cover that big park project. The 2023 roadway resurfacing project is currently out to bid. We'll accept them until May 14th, and we will award that to a contractor on May 21st. We're awaiting DOT, Department of Transportation plan approvals for Palisade Avenue improvements. That's going to be milled and paved from West Anglewood Avenue to West Tryon Avenue. We also received a $250,000 grant for that as well. Tonight, we're awarding a contract to DLS this evening for CDBG grant work, and that's going to cover Neldon Road, Schoonmaker, Argonne, and Hurleman roads, and those roads will be milled and paved this year. We were also awarded another CDBG grant at $139,000. That's going to be for the milling and paving of Maple Avenue. Engineering is in the process of designing that project. Also this evening, we're awarding the Beverly Road East parking lot project to AJM. I anticipate work to be completed by the end of May. This will allow the farmers market to move from the western end of Beverly to the eastern end. And we're going to do a lot of repairs, filling of potholes, cracks, and put a skim coat of asphalt on there as well. It should look nice when it's done. The Andreas Park pickleball project is out for bid, and those bids are due on the 16th, and we can award this project on the 21st. And that's going to provide for 4 new pickleball courts at Andreas Park. We have a seasonal assigned to Cedar Lane to keep Cedar Lane clean, neat. DPW also added some signs. They started power washing the sidewalks, completed some electrical repairs, and conducted some other minor work along the lane. Some grant information since January. The township's been awarded $1.676 million in grants. I think we've been very successful and aggressive with those. We submitted our fiscal year 2025 community project funding grant in the amount of $5 million to Congressman Gottheimer's office to offset the cost of our new DPW building. And we received notification the Sagamore Park project was recommended for a $750,000 Green Acres Park Development Program grant as well. So we're doing very well with the grants, with the projects, and business is continuing and at a quick pace here in town. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I still can't believe we only have you for 2 more meetings after this one before you retire.
Yes.
Gonna miss you, man. Mr. Attorney.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
All right. In that case, we're gonna move on to the next order of business, which is formal meeting items. And first up is a public hearing on resolution 127-2024, submission of a 2024 Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund application for the Phelps Parks Exercise Station improvements. Again, this is just a public hearing on this one item and this one item alone, the Phelps Park Exercise Station improvements. Does anyone want to talk about these improvements in Phelps Park? Seeing no hands, the public hearing is closed, Mr. Clerk, and I'm going to move on to the next item of business. Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry, it's okay. Again, for these hands on Zoom, I'm just going to lower the hands real quick and you are free to raise your hands again. I want to be very specific that this public hearing is just specifically on resolution number 127-2024, a grant application we are working on for a park. That is the only thing we are hearing for this public hearing. General public hearings are coming shortly thereafter. So one more time, the mayor will ask if we have any hands for this public hearing of this grant application.
Yeah, does anyone want to talk about the Phelps Park exercise station improvements?
No hands.
All right, public hearing is closed. We're moving on to our next order of business. Sorry, were you going to talk about Phelps Park?
I wanted to know if I had to do anything before I was given the opportunity to speak.
No. During good and welfare, people can talk about anything they want to talk about. Yes. Sorry, we're gonna have another public hearing and then we're gonna move on to good and welfare where anyone can talk about anything that they want and they get 3 minutes per person. So our next order of business is a public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the title of the ordinances into the record?
Yes, absolutely, sir. We have ordinance number 6-2024, which is accepting the dedication of a portion of the property located at block 3003, lots 2 and 3 on the official tax map, more commonly known as Chadwick Road, for the purposes of developing and maintaining a public right-of-way cul-de-sac. We have ordinance number 8-2024, adopting rules and regulations related to tree removal. I believe, Mr. Mayor, we
Yes,
wanted our
yes. Thank
attorney
you,
to.
Mr. Clerk. Mr. Attorney, you wanted to say something before we opened up this public hearing?
Okay, so I just want to give a quick overview of this ordinance before we get started with the public hearing. I've received a number of questions about this ordinance from
Can we please have silence in the audience, please? Mr. Attorney, the floor is yours. He's talking about trees, sir. Please don't interrupt him. He's trying to break something down for us. And he just said it's the 2 ordinances. Please let him talk.
So I'm talking about the tree removal ordinance. I was
8-2024.
Yeah. I received a lot of questions about it, both from the council as well as members of the public. So the township, along with essentially every other municipality in New Jersey, is required by state law to adopt.
Mr. Mayor,
Can you please stop that? I've asked you 3 times. You keep interrupting the meeting. I'm going to ask you to leave. Can you please leave? Because this is the 3rd time you've done this on purpose.
second, we'll take a recess.
Yeah, make a motion to take a recess for 5 minutes.
All right, there's a roll call. Mr. Clerk? Mr. Clerk, we have a first and a second for a recess.
Councilman Schwartz, Councilwoman Belcher.
No. What is happening?
Councilwoman Belcher, there was a motion from Councilman Schwartz and a second from Councilwoman Goldberg to take a 5-minute recess.
The discussion on this though, because I don't think
Yeah.
that should be shutting our meeting down. I think instead, after 3 warnings, she should be removed.
I agree.
We don't.
Do we have a policy? Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting, please. Mr. Attorney, do we have a policy? Mr. Manager, do we have a policy?
It's
Yep. I'm asking you to please leave because you keep interrupting our meeting. Yes, it's not your decision. Sorry. All right.
Sit down.
Mark.
Sit down.
All right, Mark, let's take a vote on the recess. Our clerk is advising us to take a recess.
Councilman Schwartz, for your motion on the table. Councilman Schwartz, for your motion on the table. Councilwoman Belcher, for 5-minute recess, and I will call you and be in touch with you.
Okay, 5 minutes. Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
No.
Councilwoman Organ,
Absolutely not.
Deputy Mayor G.
Wait, you made the motion?
I made the motion. They said that it was rather leave. I'd rather leave.
He's calling a vote, so
I've never heard anyone make a motion and say no, but yes.
Here's a second.
Mayor Pagan.
no, because I would like her to leave. Because she keeps interrupting our meeting and we're trying to get business done for the township. Yes, it is. You keep interrupting the meetings and you're interrupting right now while we're trying to conduct business for the township. You keep playing something. You keep playing sirens. So can you please leave? Can you please leave so that our meeting will no longer be interrupted so that we can conduct the township's business? We have a lot of work to do. Thank you very much. Stop interrupting, please. Mr. Attorney. Stop interrupting, please. We're trying to hear our attorney so that we can.
Clarify.
Oh, they have to go.
According to our attorney, Mr. Attorney, can you just let people know that the presiding officer has the right to ask someone to be
Right.
removed?
Yeah,
Public meeting.
the presiding officer has the right to ask someone.
Oh, you. Don't tell them that.
Stop
Mayor, I think,
interrupting.
we need to.
Stop interrupting, sir. We're trying to conduct a meeting for the township. We still have a lot of work to do. We have to get to good and welfare, and if people want to talk during good and welfare, they can. But we cannot condone people interrupting the meeting or each other. It's as simple as that. And I'd like to ask you to stop interrupting as well, please, or else I'm going to have to ask you to leave as well. And I don't want to have to do that.
Mr.
All right, you know
Mayor,
what? I'd like you to leave
please
too.
do.
Can you please get out? That gentleman right there who's also interrupting the meeting. Can you please remove those two folks from the meeting so that we can conduct our township business? You and Ms. Graham in the back for the sirens. You, because you keep interrupting.
How dare you? This is a mayor's meeting. How dare you? He's an elder. He's an elderly man.
Okay. I'm being arrested.
Recess.
I'm being arrested.
All right, Mr. Schwartz.
I make the motion for emergency private recess.
And a second for the recess. We're going to recess while these two people are escorted out of the building.
See, one. No, I
Do not touch him.
no, I don't have to leave.
He has not.
It's the only way.
Do not touch him.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay? You don't touch that. But if you.
Get your tank cups out.
You're also touching on our. Don't touch. You understand that? How am I trespassing? Because you're not trying to. I don't know where to sit down. That's supposed to represent me. And the thing that can sit with me. Even on the double. A court alarm. That is meant to remind us about my own property. Sorry, we gotta know. Okay, if you don't know, you're gonna be under arrest. You understand that? You're either gonna get up easily or you're gonna be under arrest for trespassing.
I would like you to leave. You don't have to get arrested. I would like you to leave because you keep interrupting the meeting.
Because you have to.
You have to leave. You've been told to leave.
My stuff is in town. You will get it when it's. I'm not going to. Yes, in your fucking town.
No. Yeah, they thing next to her walked out with her.
Mr. Mayor.
Let's go. We gotta do what we gotta.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
You want to have an adjournment before we continue with the reset or? No? It's up to you. It's up to you. It may be helpful because Dean's not here either.
All right, so little adjournment,
I
a
would
recess.
I would suggest a 5-minute recess.
All right, 5-minute recess, Mark. Karen, Hillary, 5-minute recess.
Mr. Mayor, so we'll come back at 9:35. Give everyone a chance to get back in here.
Anyone have a good joke?
Yeah.
Next one allow chicken. We can't have chickens in Teaneck. Oh, I should have said that so loud. Now I'm in trouble. At this point, I want the chicken. We need the chicken. We need chickens. That's the. No, our next thing is the cow.
Let me say something, Ron. Let me say something.
I'm hearing from a lot of people what a shortfall not having a proper. With
Taking a 5-minute recess, we'll be back at about 9:35. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. All right, apologies about that. Members of the public, neighbors of TNAG, we took a quick recess and we are now back. I believe, Mayor, we left off at
Yes,
ordinance.
thank you, Mr. Clerk, and I'm sorry about that, everyone. Mr. Attorney, before we open up the second public hearing, you were talking to us about one of the two ordinances, the tree ordinance. Can you please continue that conversation before we open up the second public hearing?
Yep, I'm sure what everyone wants to hear after that is to hear from the lawyer, but I'll do my best here. So yes, I received a lot of questions about the tree ordinance from members of the council as well as members of the public. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and give some context here. So TNEC, along with essentially every other municipality in New Jersey, is required by the state, by state law, to adopt a tree removal and replacement ordinance. Technically, we were supposed to have it adopted by May 1st. It's a little bit of a loose deadline, though, as long as, we're making efforts to do that, that we're on safe ground here now. But we were given a sample ordinance by the state as to what it should look like, and that's what we used as our starting point. We made a number of changes to it, both in conjunction with DPW had a say in it. We also reviewed it with the Shade Tree Advisory Board, had a number of recommendations to it. And what the main goal or purpose of this ordinance is to create this uniform tree removal replacement process that applies to everyone in the township equally. What that means is that we cannot exempt any group or target in any way and, let's say, increase requirements or create any requirements to any one group in particular over another. So, for example, we cannot exempt residential homeowners and allow this to only apply to, let's say, commercial property owners. It has to apply to everyone. This ordinance is not intended to require every person or every property owner in the township to come to the township every single time they need to remove a tree on their property. There is an exemption built into it that allows you to remove up to 4 trees over a rolling 3-year period without having to get township approval. The state originally recommended a 5-year period. We changed it to 3. That way it gives a little more flexibility to residents. Don't necessarily have to track over such a long period of time how many trees have been removed. What this ordinance is really meant to do, though, is create some additional restrictions on property owners who essentially want to just knock down a whole bunch of trees in their yard. Where you see this a lot is where someone is doing a tear down of their house, and the contractors often want to remove all the trees around the house because it just makes their job a lot easier. It is both in the state's interest and the township's interest to require that if they're going to remove all those trees, they have to replace them. And there are a number of different restrictions and rules on that in the ordinance about depending on the size of the tree, whether or not we're able to find you're able to replace it on your property. There are alternatives for other places where trees can be planted. That way, we're essentially cutting Teaneck Drive of the trees that really make it so beautiful. So with that, if any members of the council have any questions, if anything comes up during the public comment here, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Mr. Schwartz.
Can we just introduce everyone to the real MGS over there and describe any words from?
Mr. Shermabikian, do you have anything you would like to add, sir?
The real editor of this.
Sorry, if we could just introduce, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Hello,
Good evening, everybody.
Your initials.
Thank you, Councilman. Michael Bacon, Superintendent of Public Works. So I believe what the attorney was saying is the point of this resolution is from the DEP, and it's to help manage stormwater. So as we know, TDEC, will gather a lot of water, and tree roots will assist in pulling that. Unfortunately, yes, if we got like high level, it's not going to pull it right out. However, I believe that is the DEP's main goal for here. And so the Public Works are going to adhere to this too as well. If we cut down, a tree, whether it's in the town right away or in a park, we're going to plant one. And again, there are going to be times where us, just like residents, if the tree does not fit in a location, we will move it to another location. And then the same would be asked for residents, right? So if the structure that's being built is too large or it's moved over in the only area is rocky ground, there are areas in this clause that would accommodate that.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Shermabikian. Does anyone else on council have any questions or comments before we open it up to the public? Once again, this is a public hearing on just these two ordinances, the tree ordinance and Chadwick Road. Mr. Soam.
Alan Sohn, Teaneck resident, speaking on behalf of the Lorax and of the trees regarding ordinance 82024, which mandates rules, regulations, and fees for tree removal. My next door neighbor put in a new patio on their property and was required to put in two massive and incredibly extensive water detention pits. Despite the fact that this is on their property, they had to put in these pits to deal with water runoff and impact their neighbors and running off into the street. Every part of these limits on impermeable lot coverage is built into our zoning ordinance and enforced by our land use board and the building department. Ordinance 8 is not just the whim of tree huggers. This ordinance implements a state mandate, as you heard, related to stormwater runoff that helps the township and every one of its residents. Every time it rains, especially after a heavy storm, there is flooding and a huge spike in the amount of water getting into sanitary sewers. This water makes its way to Little Ferry and has to be processed as wastewater by the BCUA at taxpayer expense. Trees prevent runoff by providing a leaf canopy that catches the rain, slows its descent to earth, and allows it to evaporate, while the roots loosen the soil and allow water to get into the ground and vacuumed up by the tree itself. As the planning board representative, Mr. Mayor, you and I have worked extensively regarding the new master plan. Issues about stormwater runoff, ecological resilience, and impacts of changing climate are mandated parts of this new master plan. While this ordinance is not part of our zoning code, it plays a vital role in ensuring that the township is able to handle stormwater runoff for years to come. This ordinance was reviewed by the DPW, the Environmental Commission, Shade Tree Advisory Board, and will help ensure that we can keep as much of our tree canopy as possible, providing oxygen to tree lovers and haters alike, keeping our township cooler and maintaining our beauty, as we heard from the manager, as a tree city. Where trees are taken down, they will either be replaced on site or can be used to purchase replacement trees. Traditionally, in the Jewish month of Nisan, which is ending tonight, we recite a blessing on trees, in which we thank God for a world bestowed with wonderful creations and good trees created for the benefit of mankind. Whatever deity you pray or do not pray to, whether you see trees as a gift of the Almighty or of Mother Nature, whether the written words you deem most holy were handed down by God or written by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, listen to the Lorax, save the trees, vote yes on ordinance 82024. Thank you for this
Mr. Soam.
ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers want to talk about one of these two ordinances? Mr. Rose.
Thank you. Howard Rose, Teaneck resident. Just a couple of statements regarding the Paul Bunyan ordinance. From what I've heard, sounds good. I'm wondering though, if we can get a little bit of detail regarding, for example, I have had two oak trees that are about 80 feet tall in front of my property. One of them was killed by a gas leak of PSEG, and there's no replacement. There's no replacement for it because we couldn't put a 19-foot or an 8-foot tree symmetrically on the property next to an 80-foot tree that still exists. So I'm wondering what this law has in terms of mandates for large tree replacement. If it's an 80-foot oak tree, you're not replacing it, I hope, with 3 pine trees. You're replacing it with multiple trees because it's replacing something that was really substantial. That's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Anyone else in chambers? Dr. Powers.
Dr. Powers, Teaneck. I was going to ask actually within this 3 minutes to get the summary. Perhaps it should have been a little more extensive because this is an incredibly complex ordinance that is being passed. To understand both why it had been brought forward, who had brought it forward, and it is very clear that we are now going to be in compliance with state law. We are Tree City. We're also the place where for 10 years, Mrs. Brower came before this council trying to figure out how she could possibly have a tree taken down that was sending its roots into her basement. This is incredibly complex stuff. And in the first place, I think when you introduced it, Council, you should have had this presentation so that the public could know as they were reading it, what was actually going on with it. And secondarily, I think it would have been a good idea to have promised the community that since this is going to impact a very large number of our residents, that there is some communication device developed to somehow summarize it and get out to the public so they know and are not suddenly found not in compliance with something as complex as this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Anyone else in chambers want to talk? Mr. Kaplan?
Keith Kaplan, Teaneck resident. I agree with everything the attorney said. I agree with everything Mr. Sohn said, and I'm with the Lorax. The problem with this ordinance has nothing to do specifically with the ordinance. It has to do with Teaneck and government and just the way we function. Having spent close to 2 decades here and handling 4 years worth of issues from residents, I can tell you some of my experiences. The code said no signs above the 2nd floor. Planning board said that includes the 2nd floor. They just did. The code said you did not need a survey in order to replace a walkway. The building department said, how do we know it was there originally? We need to make sure that there's a permit. Even when this council creates ordinances that tells our employees what to do, the way things are done governs how this town operates more than the actual code. So I agree with the lawyer about what it says. I agree with everyone that it's decent. What it needs is just a tad bit of extra language that says it already has an exemption that says if you want to take down, 4 trees in 3 years, you're allowed. That's fine. What happens when the building department goes, you need to prove you didn't take down more than 4 trees in 3 years? What happens? Who needs to prove it? Where is that burden going to sit? Put that burden in the ordinance. Fine by me. The rest of it's fine. The way this town operates and the way it handles these things makes an ordinance like this especially problematic for its residents. Unless you're going to have someone that is full-time monitoring the building department to ensure that this ordinance operates the way that the New Jersey DEP wants it to, because if it came from on high, that's one thing. The DEP is not going to care how this is interpreted here in Teaneck. This is going to be a disaster for a lot of residents. And we need some sort of language in this ordinance that protects those residents so that the actual intent of the statute that the DEP passed and which we are required to do is followed. I would suggest very short recess, introduce it for the next meeting, get a couple extra words in there to protect the residents and be done.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Anyone else in chambers before we go to Zoom? Seeing no hands in chambers, Dougie, Zoom?
I am bringing in Deborah Blaber.
Can you hear us, Ms. Blayberg?
Need to unmute, Miss. You need to unmute, Ms. Blayberg. 3
Hi, good
minutes.
evening. Sorry, my phone is
Now we
calling.
can hear you. Yeah, now we can hear
You're
you.
getting a lot of feedback, Deborah. You should.
I
mute
know.
another
I'm
speaker
trying to
that
deal
you
with
have
it.
on.
Technology hates me. Is that better?
Can you turn that up a little, Ron?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, 3
ma'am. Loud and
minutes.
clear.
Okay, I just want to talk about this ordinance and the trees and hope that something will be dealt with when it comes to the town, because this is putting a lot of obligations on the residents. But as we know, the town is not always compliant with maintaining their trees. And I think language should be put in there in order to ensure that a branch needs to be 2 foot above the house when it's hanging right over a house is unacceptable. So, and the cutting down of trees, and when you replace them, when they fall down, when you have trees that are going in, town trees that are going into roots of people's residences, and it costs us a lot of money, and they lift the sidewalks. So I love this tree idea. Great, wonderful, huggers, whatever. But I think we need to focus also on how the town deals with the town trees, because they are a menace to many homeowners, especially when it comes to plumbing and sewage. So I just wanted to add that in. I figured it went with the tree ordinance, so I hope that's appropriate. And I just appreciate how with dignity you all handled everything previously. So sorry that happened, and good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Blayberg. Doug, I think we have a couple more on Zoom, you said?
Bringing in Ellie Katz.
Yeah, they're really cats.
We'll see. It could. Which Ellie Katz is it?
Hi, hello. Is there a Y there?
Hello, Mr. Katz. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Katz.
Sorry.
3 minutes.
Please, quiet in chambers. 3 minutes, sir. Apologies.
Good evening, council members. My name is Ellie, not Y Katz. I'm a Teaneck resident. I would like to comment on the proposed tree ordinance before you. While I have been and still am a proponent of nature and environmental protection, I am, however, against unlawful overreach into private property. This ordinance also imposes potential restrictions and delays to new construction projects and development caused by permitting and application process delays, and the potential tremendous financial burdens from permit applications themselves, as well as replanting fees. I implore this council to review the impacts of this ordinance with an open workshop or a study for how it will financially impact residents before voting this evening. Traffic requests are met with traffic studies. Why wasn't this ordinance where a resident of Teaneck could be met with hundreds or even thousands of dollars of fees or fines, not be afforded the same opportunity of care? While I was going to make a suggestion to amend the ordinance for commercial and business entities versus residential, per township attorney comments, I'd still like to, however, suggest changing the ordinance to remove or reduce the fees, or maybe reduce replanting requirements that were not in the sample DEP ordinance originally. These changes would still follow DEP guidelines, protect the environment, and be less of a burden and impact residents. In addition, I think the township should review how the application process, paperwork, and overall burden by this ordinance or of this ordinance will impact the township and residents before voting. I ask this council to stay the current ordinance as written and explore how to better serve the population of Teaneck by rewriting the ordinance with less burdensome protections. Thank you for your time and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Someone else on Zoom, Doug?
Sean Hirschhorn, you have 3 minutes. Please unmute whenever you are ready.
Thanks for calling on me. I just wanted to comment on the tree ordinance as well. I'd like to state that I'm in support of having a beautiful greenery in Teaneck. However, I am concerned that the ordinances impose restrictions and penalties, and there was not enough, I feel like, conversation with residents, allowing us to share our feedback, and therefore I'm requesting that this ordinance be shelved and have a public hearing, sort of another open mic night, as these Tuesday night council meetings have turned into, to allow us to discuss how better to serve the Teaneck residents on having a green Teaneck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else, Doug?
I have Rejma Khan. You are free to unmute. You have 3 minutes whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, Council. I'm calling to say that we need more time. Residents need more time to digest this ordinance. Given that this council has proven that they care more about the trees in our town than children being killed, it is important that residents have a right to know what is being hidden. Thank you, Mr. Salmon, for your explanation and clarification, but we still do not understand what the nuances are to this ordinance. And therefore, my recommendation, Council, is that you table this ordinance for now. And as rightly mentioned by the person who spoke before me, Mr. Sean, make sure that public has full transparency into what is being passed and what are the implications of this for every resident in Teaneck. We owe it to our future generations that we don't make lopsided, haphazard decisions, and therefore take the time to actually make some thoughtful decisions around this. Thanks, Doug.
Anybody else, Doug?
I have Michael Klatsky. Michael Klatsky, you are free to unmute whenever you are ready, sir.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'd like to speak about the trees ordinance. I had a chance to review the trees ordinance, and I think that it's a fantastic goal. I think that there's definitely a need. I've seen streets where people move into homes where there's mature trees. They go ahead, first thing they do is they cut down 8 trees that have been providing incredibly fantastic shade for the homeowners, their neighbors, people on the sidewalk walking past for decades. They'll go and they'll clear cut the entire property, and all of a sudden you'll see something that looks like a realtor special, or it says, "Oh, look how clean the front of the house is now." The house is it's all grass. It's beautiful. It's just sparkling clean, and they've basically ripped out the character from the neighborhood. I think there's a need to preserve trees to make sure that when people go in and they cut them down, that there's a way of getting them replaced. I think what makes Teaneck special, what makes it different than just like a ticky-tacky cookie cutter suburb that's just like somewhere in Nevada from a picture, is the trees. When you go past a tree-lined street, like say you go down Grayson, coming down from Queen Anne Road going towards Teaneck Road, Hop Bagels, you see those majestic trees covering the street. And yes, trees have problems too. We know this. But they're beautiful. It was makes Teaneck Teaneck. It'd be like saying that, let's just change every Tudor house to one of those stucco materials made out of fake foam. They just look tacky and they don't look good. So there's definitely a need, and I think this tree ordinance is a valuable thing. What I'm curious about is that why put this in the hands of the zoning official? They already have a lot of stuff on their plate. It doesn't really make sense to me that it should be in the zoning official's hands. I feel like it's creating a process that's going to create a lot of headache for the homeowners. I think that maybe it should stay in the position of the licensed tree professional. I think that's the superintendent of DPW is someone who's getting that certification, maybe has it already. Or maybe it can be somebody who's just simply a state certified tree professional or arborist. So that way you can call a tree service company and they can make that determination from their professional rather than just leaning on the expertise of somebody who really just spends their day going to ICC building and fire inspection training classes, who really doesn't know anything about the ins and outs of arborists and trees. So I think that doesn't make sense. And I also think that $500 is too low of a fee in lieu of planting a new tree. I took the liberty of doing some investigating of my own on this, and a new tree costs like around $500 to $1,000 for like a 3 to 5 inch sapling that's installed with a 2-year warranty. And then the truck and the staff to install it's like another $1,000. It's nowhere nearly enough. So those are my 2 cents. I hope this is successful. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Klatsky. Anyone else on Zoom, Doug?
T. Boomer, please state your name for the record. T. Boomer, please state your name for the record. This is a public hearing on just the ordinances. T. Boomer, your hand is raised. T. Boomer, put their hand down there.
All right, anybody else on Zoom or Chambers? No, so the public hearing is closed on these 2 ordinances. Does anyone on council have anything they want to say? Ms. Organ?
Scott, is there anything that we've heard from the public tonight that we're allowed to change in the ordinance that the state requires us to implement?
Well, some things I suppose we could change. For example, I think Mr. Klapsky was asking about the zoning officer and why zoning officer is responsible for doing this. I suppose we could change something like that. I'm not sure who else would be more appropriate to handle it, that was one of the things that we discussed when we were drafting this, where like that the zoning officer is really the best person that's equipped to actually go out and do these types of inspections. They can be given advice and guidance by DPW, but they didn't really have someone that could go out and do it. So I'm not, something like that we could change. I'm just not sure who would be a better, more appropriate person to replace him with. I guess I'm not sure about I think most of the requests that I heard were about, I guess, wanting more time, more of an understanding about this stuff. So obviously there's nothing we can do with that. I would say that I didn't hear anything something that we couldn't do. We could increase the fee, the $500 fee that I think Mr. Klatsky also mentioned. I think that the $500 fee, if there are no other alternatives for planting, where that came from was that DPW has previously paid $500 per tree for about a 2.5 inch caliper tree. I think that's where that number is. If we plan to do that, that's where that number came from. So that's something we could increase, but that number right now is based on, I think, DPW's past experiences. I didn't hear anything specific that we couldn't do. But like I said, most of the questions I think were about just general knowledge about what's going on.
Okay, I don't see anybody in the town other than the zoning official that could handle this. I don't have any issues with the ordinance if we're required to pass it. I also don't have a problem tabling it if people want more time. Either works for me.
Anyone else?
I don't have a problem with the ordinance. I just wanted to say that I agree with Dr. Powers that if we can put something in the front so people understand the ordinances, like at introduction, I think would be helpful.
And I would just like to add that the Shade Tree Advisory Board and the Environmental Commission helped edit this. So anybody else? Because I'm okay with passing it now. What does the rest of the council think?
I'm okay with passing it now. I think we do need to communicate to people what the impact will be and like the exception rule, I think what needs to be shared. Yeah.
So can I actually address some of the questions, at least a couple of questions that I heard? So the first one, I agree with Councilman Goldberg. I agree with Dr. Powers. I think doing more of these summaries when we're first introducing them, I think that's a great idea. That's something I will try to do going forward, generally speaking. Second is to Mr. Rose about, he was asking about what happens when someone removes a massive tree and how that gets handled under this ordinance. The answer really depends on the size of the tree. So for example, if the tree has a 26-inch or greater of the DBH, the width of the tree, about I think it's 4.5 from the ground. What the ordinance would do is it requires that because you obviously can't just find and replace a 26-inch tree, you have to replant with 3 trees with a minimum tree caliper of 1.5 inches for each tree of that size that's being removed. So the idea is that depending on the size of the tree, changes how many trees you have to plant in response. So if it's a massive tree, you're going to have to plant more trees in response. If it's a smaller one, you may only have to do one response. And then the alternatives, again, depending on the size of it and the location, you may have the option of planting elsewhere aside from your property or paying the $500 fee that was discussed. And the third thing I want to mention is to what Mr. Kaplan had raised. He was asking about who the burden is on to essentially prove whether or not these trees have been removed or not. If the township wants to cite someone for a violation of this, like say, for example, the township believes that someone removed, just making up a number, a dozen trees and wants to cite them for a violation, even though those were not previously reported or anything, it's the township's legal burden to show that that person has violated the ordinance. That is something that they would have to ultimately go before the municipal court. And the township has a specific legal burden of proof to show that that person has violated the ordinance. And so we can't try and flip it around and put the burden on the homeowner to essentially prove a negative. We have to affirmatively prove that you violated the ordinance and either didn't report it or whatever the situation. And so I think that's all the points I wanted to address.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon. Mr. Schwartz, did you want to say anything, or in that case, I make a motion to approve both ordinances?
I did want to say something, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Denise. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
I don't think you called upon me. I just wanted to ask the attorney, how does this compare with other towns of similar type? meaning towns that have, trees like mature trees as Teaneck. Is it in pretty much in line with other towns such as like ours, like be it Montclair or other towns that are similar in terms of having mature trees?
So I would say because this is now a state mandate, we're seeing pretty much every town in New Jersey adopting, I'll say, variants of this this ordinance. There's some towns that already had some sort of tree ordinance in place, and they're just amending what they currently have to comply with this. But for the most part, most towns don't have something like this and are now going to adopting them. I've seen the only, I'll say, notable differences I've seen in different towns is really what their specific requirements are for, like, how many trees do you have to, if you're replacing a tree of, let's say, 15 inches, how many trees do you have to replace it with? Is it 2 or is it 3? I've seen places that have imposed different sorts of fees on there. Some are more and some are less than what Teaneck has. There's kind of a huge range of what of like the fees and the tree replacement criteria that are in place. But everywhere that I'm seeing is adopting ordinances like this, or almost identical to this. Again, with relatively minor changes, but so some of them have even stricter requirements of what the homeowners have to show if they want to get out of doing this. Some of them require the property owners to have all sorts of experts and arborists and whatever come out and make certain showings. We don't really have a lot of those requirements in our version of this. So I'll say it's a big range, but it's a big range over a small number of parts of this ordinance. They're pretty much the same throughout the state as I'm seeing them.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon. Thank you, Ms. Belcher. I make a motion to approve both ordinances.
Second.
Councilman Schwartz, Councilwoman Belcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G,
Yes.
Mayor Pagan,
Yes, sir, Mr. Clerk.
adopted.
Our next order of business is good and welfare. Any member of the public wishing to be heard at this time will be asked to come forward and state their names for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. If you are on Zoom, please list your first name and your last name so our clerk can call on you. We also ask that you turn your camera on when speaking. There is a young child in attendance at our meeting tonight, so I'm going to call on him first because it is a school night after all. Ian Leon. And Ian, I am so sorry it is so late, but we're so happy that you're here with us tonight, Ian.
Hello, my name is Ian. I am 7 years old and I lived my whole life in Teaneck. I am here tonight to ask you to allow backyard chickens. In my school, we help raise chickens for a local farm. Having the chicks was a lot of fun, and it taught us about the life cycle of chickens. Chickens are also good pets. They are soft and their feathers are pretty. They also give us eggs, so we don't have to buy eggs at the store. My family and I would love to have chickens in our backyard, but you won't allow us to. Please change the law so that we can. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you so very much, Ian. Doug, someone on Zoom?
I'm bringing in Joe Spiegel. Bringing in Joe Spiegel. You have 3 minutes whenever you are ready.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Joe Spiegel here, class of Teaneck High School, 2004. I just want to give a shout out to Tamba and his family. Really awesome to see him getting recognized and also his induction into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. He was good friends with my sister back in high school. And I was also on the same basketball team as him when I was a scrawny sophomore and he was a senior. And I think back to that time, and even though I spent most of the year scared of him in the locker room, I can see how he helped make our team more disciplined, tougher, and made us work harder. And he really prepared a lot of us young guys to go on and win a state championship after that. So yeah, just want to say I'm super happy for him, everything he's accomplished, and wish him nothing but the best. And also shout out to his father, Mr. Henry Holly, who also tutored me in high school and helped me pass 11th grade chemistry. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel. And I see that we have some clergy in the audience. Do any of our clergy members want to speak? Rabbi Friedman?
Good evening, everybody. Daniel Friedman, lifelong Teaneck resident, rabbi of the Jewish Center of Teaneck, and vice president for community engagement for the Rabbinical Council of Bergen County, and particularly grateful to Joe for his Zoom remarks, so I did not have to follow Ian. That would have been impossible. I want to, first of all, welcome back. He's not in the room right now, which is probably better, so I don't embarrass him. I wanted to welcome back our town manager to the dais. It's been a very long and challenging 3 weeks for the Kaczynski family, but we're so gratified, Dean, that your father, Detective Sergeant Rich Kaczynski, is headed in the right direction. I wanted to speak on behalf of not only my entire synagogue community, but all of the residents of this town in wishing your dad a complete and speedy recovery, as we like to say, refuah shlema. His service to this town and the police department over so many decades, preceded by his heroic service in Korea, where here in the Purple Heart, taking a bullet, fighting for freedom across the world, is a testament to his character. But I think his greatest contribution to this town, we'll all agree, was the young man that he raised. The apple really didn't far fall from the tree. And as I said to your father and mother a number of times over these last few weeks, Dean, we look forward to celebrating with both of them in good health, Dean Day this summer, God willing. I also wanted to include a note of gratitude tonight. I think she's behind me, to Cheryl Hall. 3 weeks ago, she is a great lady of Teaneck, there's no question. I was a little taken aback. We had what I thought was a very reasonable and respectful request from a sitting member of council that an important meeting of leadership Teaneck not take place on Passover, so that those who observe Passover, who can't ride or drive, really attend this meeting, would be able to participate. I was a little surprised by what transpired next, and I felt it was a missed opportunity for Teaneck to demonstrate the understanding and mutual respect, which is so critical to the harmonious functioning of our township, doing everything possible to ensure that no one, Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, or of any faith tradition, has to choose between their faith commitments and their civic engagement. All the more so missed opportunity for leadership Teaneck, which is dedicated to training the next generation of leaders in our township. It would have been such a great moment, a lesson in empathy and mutual understanding. I felt then, as I do now, that Teaneck could do better, and I'm so grateful to Cheryl Hall for all of her work drawing attention to this issue and putting together a community calendar to be reviewed by competent members of each faith tradition to ensure that we don't impose upon people any need to choose between their faith commitments and their civic engagement. So let's continue working together, neighbors sticking up for neighbors, ensuring that Teaneck's days are best ahead of it.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman. Are there any other members of clergy that want to speak? Doug, someone on Zoom?
Sherry Ann Eid. Whenever you are ready, you are free to unmute, and you have 3 minutes. Sherry Ann, whenever you are ready, you are free to unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Can you all hear me?
Loud and clear, miss.
Alrighty. I am shaken by what I saw on Zoom. and I'm not sure how everybody's going through this meeting. First, I just want to say I am in support of the resolution for Arab American Heritage Month, although again, I'm shaken, as you can hear. I want to acknowledge that the Institute represents local Arab communities. With that said, I would like to also acknowledge Mental Health Awareness Month. The past 7 months of torture of the Palestinian people have endured is endless, and the trauma is endless. And what they have to deal with, again, is immeasurable. I know that fellow residents of Teaneck may find that our consistent talk of this genocide is tiresome, and I want to assure you that we are tired too. The 600,000 Palestinians sheltering in Rafah are tired too. I'm just going to read a quote from Rachel Corrie, an American who was killed in 2003. This has to stop, and I think it is a good idea for all of us to drop everything and devote our lives to making this stop. I don't think it's an extremist thing to do anymore. I still really want to dance around to Pat Benatar and have boyfriends and make comics for my coworkers, but I also want this to stop. Disbelief and horror is what I feel. Disappointment. I am disappointed that this is the base of reality of our world and that we in fact participate in it. End quote. The fact that she said this in 2003 and it is still happening and is still accurate to this time is appalling. And that what transpired in the chambers transpired without a word of it is appalling. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Someone on this side, Yusuf.
Yusuf Abdullah, Teaneck resident. Didn't think I was gonna call so soon. This is the sign. Not sure if anyone got to see it when my sister was holding it up earlier. What we witnessed today was disgusting. I'm gonna read an amendment. I want you all to guess which amendment it is. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. I know you can't answer for now, but for those of you on the council who didn't know, that was the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Free speech makes our representatives accountable to we the people. As we saw in tonight's meeting, the First Amendment ends when the mayor said so. We all have rights in Teaneck until you denounce a genocide. May I suggest that we all get together to rewrite the First Amendment? We will establish clear terms on which US citizens are protected. We will make it illegal to use the word Palestine and genocide in the same sentence. We will make it illegal for high school students to have a voice, abolish any gathering for humanity in the confines of this township. Most importantly, we will outlaw car rallies on public roadways. I drive down the streets every day. I don't want any Palestinians using my roads. Maybe we could give them their own roads, just for themselves, away from us. It works so well in other countries. Let's set up checkpoints so that we can stop residents from Patterson from visiting our beautiful town. As a matter of fact, we should stop any outsider from driving through Teaneck. Maybe we should build a wall around this town. We can work on redefining words to give them different meanings in order to criminalize language. I am willing to help be a part of a committee to help rewrite the First Amendment. We will call it the First Amendment Teaneck Edition. I could get a few people together if anyone on this council would like to help. Maybe we could bring in a congressman to help draft this up. If anyone on the council knows a congressman personally, please reach out to them. Preferably, let's find a congressman who's anti-free speech and doesn't mind bullying teenagers. Together, we can make Teaneck a great place to live for everyone, not including Palestinians. They are not welcome here. Certain board members on the Board of Education are actively trying to suppress the voices of our youth by trying to pass policies that subdue anyone speaking out against a genocide. The policy will get our children in trouble if they acknowledge that 40,000 people being murdered within 7 months is alarming. Calling a genocide for what it is will have consequences in this township. But making up lies against Arabs and Muslims will earn you a seat on this council. Make it make sense. Before we get stripped of our basic freedoms in this township, let me say that I am very proud of our Teaneck High School students and the Palestine Club for standing up against the intimidation tactics used by elected officials. We stand with you. I will end with a phrase that I'm sure will soon arbitrarily be labeled as hate speech. The more you try to silence us, the louder we will be.
Thank you, Yusuf. Doug, someone on Zoom?
Lana. Please state your name for the record.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
What's
Okay.
your last name?
My name is Lana Hanks. I just want to say, like everyone, I don't like to be interrupted when I'm speaking. But what I find particularly amusing and disturbing is that you are more bothered and disturbed by being interrupted when you are speaking than by the fact that a child has been killed. Let that sink in. Where is your humanity? Where is your conscience? As we speak right now, Israel is invading Rafah and killing people, civilians that were deemed in a safe zone before. Where is your conscience? How is this okay? And yet this town still chooses to turn a blind eye. Not only that, but you continue to incite hate and violence against Palestinians, especially minors. I could list all the churches, the mosques, the schools, and the hospitals that have been destroyed by Israel, but that would take all night, and I don't have time for that. Yet you refuse to call this a genocide. I could list out the names of the over 40,000 people that have been killed in Palestine in 7 months, but that would also take all night and all day tomorrow. Yet you refuse to call it a genocide. Why aren't you calling this for what it is? And the fact that Palestine and genocide cannot be used in the same sentence, how are you okay with limiting our speech? Why is Israel such a red line that the fact that we just want to condemn the murder of all these people, it is automatically wrong. It is automatically anti-Semitism. How many times do we have to explain ourselves that when we call out Zionists, when we call out Israel, we are not being anti-Semitic? If you are not understanding this by now, you will never, ever understand it. And limiting our chance and our freedom of speech and our car rallies and our clubs is not going to help the situation. We need a right to express ourselves because this country was built on those rights. So when we say from the river to the sea, I know, very scary. We mean from the river to the sea, we mean we want freedom for everyone in Palestine. Okay, you can't limit us from saying that. When we say that there is a genocide going on in Palestine right now, that should alarm you that there's a genocide. It shouldn't alarm you that we're using the word. Where is your conscience? Where is your humanity? How dare you limit the freedom of high school students that are trying to start a club when there has been an Israel club on campus for years? That's not up to you to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm here to talk on Tamba Ali, a former teammate and also a teammate of my brother. We, kind of met Tamba when I was in 7th grade when my brother started playing basketball in freshman year. We used to have the Township trampoline, so everyone used to come over from all ages. And when he showed up, I was like, whoa, look, big dude, very imposing. And when I finally got to play on the TNEC basketball team, we quickly found out why he was such a superstar later in his life. And as an unfortunate Denver Bronco fan, we had to face him two times a year. So he wreaked havoc on the multitude of quarterbacks that we've had. But I vividly remember in the high school, my junior year, Tamba came back from Penn State. And we did a Big Brother program, and it was some of the individuals that went out and became professionals, and Tamba came back and kind of talked to the juniors and seniors on how to be a professional, how to be a scholar, how to work hard, and how to really give back to the community when you get out there. And it kind of resonated with me as an athlete and a professional. And I'm hope that some of his continuous social impact is kind of going through multiple of folks that are here. And also through Sa and Kumba, they were both amazing athletes as well. And I was fortunate enough to be a student of Mr. Ali in chemistry class and really taught us, everything we didn't know about chemistry. I'm in Wall Street now, but it still resonated a lot of the lessons he taught us. But it was just really great to see. And thank you to my ABCR members that are here to show support. I think it's important for TNEC to getting back to being TNEC. We really support folks like Tamba coming in and his father, really have an impact on the town. I hope we can focus more on peace, love, unity, and I hope the ABCR members can help me bring TNEC back to what we used to be. I love this town and I love you all, and thank you for the great work. Thanks for giving me some time.
Thank you, Josh. Someone on Zoom, Doug?
Aunt Rodney. Aunt Rodney, please unmute and state your name for the record. Whenever you're ready, Aunt Rodney. We're having trouble hearing you over here. Bringing in Debbie.
Hi, good evening. It's me again. I just wanted to actually discuss some actual town stuff. I know, controversial. The lantern flies. I know there was some discussion. We need to make sure that the bridge on Cedar Lane, the trees there last year were literally crawling with lantern flies. So it might be an area you want to focus on. I know. And then also want to thank the fact that you are doing a fields forum and whatever thingy, because it actually symbolizes a nice coordination between the Board of Education and the council, because there does have to be accountability in certain areas. And I would like people to remember that the Board of Education is upping their tax doodah at 2%, and they are also getting rid of 29 student-facing teachers. They've sent rice papers too. So I really think you might want to start taking a little bit of attention of what's actually going on the ground there. And then I'd like to talk about our TNEC colonizer. There is, as we know, the sacred African-American burial grounds on Pomanza Walk, which the town kindly bought the house, demolished it, and allowed the area to become public land and a beautiful memorial and area. And as we know, right by it is the sacred Native American burial mound, and there is a house on it. And I do believe that the town should actually look to purchasing the house and bringing the entire area to the beauty and nature it should be and restoring it. Because we do have basically a colonizer living right on top of the house. The person bought the house knowing where it was, and may or may not be on the Board of Education. So it kind of the hypocrisy that goes on is insane. So I'm just saying, I think the town should start to consider the fact, I appreciate the fence they built, beautiful, but yeah, when we're talking about colonizers, we have our own in TNEC. So maybe we should start focusing on those areas before we start going outside. I would comment on the other stuff, but it's beyond ridiculousness. So let's carry on. And the lantern flies, can we deal with them, please? Thank you. And have a good evening, everybody. And Dean, much sympathy, Baruch Refuah Shalema to your father. Sorry, it's late and I am extremely tired and jet lagged. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Blaber. Cheryl Hall.
Thank you. Oh, I need to see the clock. Okay. Thank you to my esteemed, the wonderful council, and to everyone here tonight. A special shout out to the ABCR team. We all came out to celebrate the Timba Haley wonderful story. It is quintessential Tina. It really is. Everything that we're all about right now. That story is. It's not lost on me that he's still trying to get his mother into this country from Liberia. That's not lost on me. And maybe that's something that citizens can write letters about to try and help too. But it really is just such a wonderful story. I'm asking maybe the council, Councilwoman Goldberg, I think your presentation that you read, maybe that could be posted somewhere on the township website so that we can share it, you know, throughout the community, because it's inspiring. It makes people feel good. Tonight, I also saw a 7-year-old talk about chickens. That made me feel good. I heard the alarm earlier with the sign, and I got nervous. And the person that I was sitting next to, you know, tried to explain it to me. And I said, do you honestly think that I have not stayed up nights crying about this situation, about all the heartache that different people have in this township, about the fact that people are dying? I am a daughter of a veteran, a career Marine, both Vietnam and Korea, 2 Purple Hearts. War is so bad and depraved. And maybe as a society, we need to think about it all. We need to, a global society. But regardless of that, when I said this to my neighbor sitting next to me, we both welled up and cried. Teaneck roots run deep. We will be united again. I have that faith. I also would like to ask, I hear a lot of pain, but I also hear something that maybe I need to double down on, which is the calendar. A lot of things have been missed on all sides of religion. So that needs to be a #1 priority, I think, of ABCR. Working on a calendar right now, that's the #1 issue, because I think that people, you know, have been left out. And then suddenly nobody said anything. So now's the time. Maybe we can get that together. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Cheryl, Doug, someone on Zoom.
Aunt Rodney, we're trying again. Aunt Rodney, whenever you are ready. Aunt Rodney, you are free to unmute. All right, Auntie keeps dropping off. I apologize. Frida P. You are being summoned in. You are free to unmute. 3 minutes whenever you are ready.
Yes, hi. Free the people. So it's been basically 8 months. And as you can tell from what happened today in the chambers, people are frustrated. They are unable to get through to you, council members, through words. So people are having to use an alarm in the hope to actually wake you up. And yet you still don't realize a genocide is taking place right now. Every 10 minutes, another child dies in Gaza. So, you know, they're not dying of natural causes. It's not an accident. You know, they are being murdered by the IOF, by Israel. This is an ethnic cleansing happening right now. And I know a lot of people are saying it has nothing to do with Teaneck, but Teaneck did get involved by passing that resolution in October, giving Israel the full support, which in turn gives it the full support to the genocide that they're committing right now. Every person on planet Earth should be concerned right now. So should the council members of Teaneck. I love it how Deborah just earlier spoke about hypocrisy, about a colonizer living in Teaneck. Yeah, she herself is a colonizer because she always claims Israel, yet that is not her native land. She is a colonizer too. So do us all a favor, Deborah, and get off Palestinian land. because the hypocrisy is really disgusting. And to be frankly honest, it's actually quite.
Yeah,
Sorry?
please don't attack other residents that are speaking, ma'am. You
I'm not
have
attacking.
1 minute left.
She actually said the same thing about the other person that she was naming, and you did not cut her off or mention anything to her. So
You
it's
have
quite
59
ironic
seconds left,
and
ma'am.
and it's very hypocritical out of you all to be calling me out when you didn't call her out. So you can see how, like, this is exactly what we're talking about. There's always preference to the white people in town versus the others. Anybody that supports Palestine, even though I'm clearly British, by the way, we're being attacked just because we support Palestine. And that is clearly unfair. And that goes between your resolutions, the way you unleash the police department, the way everything that you do clearly is spoken out. So anyway, I've got 20 seconds left. So what I'm going to say is just free Palestine. Free Palestine, free Palestine from the river to the sea. And I really mean it. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. And free Palestine some more. I don't care if I got 5 seconds left. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, and free
Eliyahu, I think I saw your
Palestine.
hand up. Debbie Eliyahu, I think I saw your hand up.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to speak about something completely different. My shirt says it's a demotivator. So it's against motivating people. And it says cluelessness. There are no stupid questions, but there are a lot of inquisitive idiots. So for any errors that I make, blame it on the shirt. So I want to talk about the development projects on near Cedar Lane and American Legion Drive. The first thing I want to mention is that big meeting that was at the Rhoda Center. I was sick, so I was on Zoom. And as much as I screamed at my screen, I could not get through. We kept hearing, move closer to the microphone so those on Zoom can hear you. Yet nobody said, let's hear from somebody on Zoom. The entire time, nobody wanted to listen. Anyway, so we heard, but we were not heard. So from what I understand, the person who deemed the locations as AINR as was not an independent and disinterested party regarding the process going forward. If that is the case, then the process should have been stopped when that became clear and not proceed at all. Yet new designs are being presented despite strong resident opposition, and money continues to flow to a project design that was tainted by not being done in good faith from the beginning. And I believe that it needs to be stopped and independently evaluated. Otherwise, we keep throwing good money after bad. And I just think it needs to be, from the beginning, rethought. Because that's what I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie.
Good night. And if there's another one of these meetings, please hear from the people on Zoom.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Hi, Shiruk Awadallah. I stand before you today to voice my full support for the proposed resolution aimed at ending anti-Arab hate and recognizing April as Arab American Heritage Month. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to the Arab American Institute for their unwavering support of TNEC, particularly as they understand the struggles and challenges faced by the Arab community amidst bigotry and harassment. Additionally, I commend Ms. Belcher for her dedication in introducing this resolution. Arab Americans are not only integral members of our state, country, and township, but also pillars of our society. However, they have endured unjust misconceptions that have undermined their sense of belonging and safety. It is imperative that we as a community acknowledge and address these issues. The Arab American community in Teaneck stands firm in their commitment to fostering a peaceful and diverse society. This resolution serves to condemn all forms of anti-Arab hate sentiment, affirm our township's dedication to ensuring their security, recognize the vital role the Arab community plays, and acknowledge the urgent need to end violence. In examining past resolutions passed by this council, I noted the precision and necessity of the language used, which effectively made the intended community feel seen and heard. Tonight, I implore our council members to extend the same level of consideration and respect to the Arab community. My two kids are eagerly anticipating their graduation ceremony. They've expressed interest in wearing a pin or draping a flag representing Palestine during the event. They take pride in their identity and enjoy expressing it openly. However, as a parent, I am fearful for their safety. This resolution must not only be approved, but also carry significant weight and protection. What we saw tonight is a result of our council members hearing, but not listening. Hearing, but not listening. When someone needs to sit in the back of the room with the sign, which I didn't know this was gonna happen tonight, by the way, and a buzzer going off every 10 minutes, it's because you are hearing, but not listening. And I heard some people in chambers saying, oh, but this isn't the way. Then share with us what is the way. Because it's been months. I've attended every single meeting since October. I voiced concerns over resolutions that have been passed. I always try to speak with the utmost respect. I'm open to meeting new people, understanding different perspectives. I just want to know, what is the way then? What is the way? This is for Layla tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Someone on Zoom, Doug?
I got Jesse Leon.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Jesse Leon, Teaneck resident. I think that it's clear why I have been so doggedly trying to get chickens legalized, and there's really nothing more that I can say about that Ian didn't say perfectly this evening. So I will approach weightier issues tonight. You know that I am against resolutions of any kind that don't have to do with the town directly, but because I don't think you're going to listen to me, I'm going to lean in to frivolous resolutions. Among the other many deserving resolutions that for months that are celebrated in May, there is one that this town has ignored, and that is Zombie Awareness Month. This is something that I think is very important. So I've taken the opportunity to write a draft resolution. Doug, I'll be emailing it to you. I meant to hand out hard copies, but I had to leave to put my son to bed. So very quickly, whereas the United States faces the ever-looming threat of a future zombie apocalypse, and whereas the Township of Teaneck reflects the greater American community, and whereas the Township of Teaneck recognizes the need to prepare for and prevent the possibility of a future zombie apocalypse, and whereas the Township of Teaneck recognizes that zombies reflect society's fears of terrorism, biological or viral infection, and societal collapse, and whereas Teaneck understands that preparing for a zombie apocalypse can help people prepare for any type of real-world disaster, and whereas the Zombie Research Society has declared the month of May Zombie Awareness Month, and whereas May is an ideal month to raise awareness of the possibility of a future zombie apocalypse, the number of notable zombie films are set in May, including George Romero's classic film Night of the Living Dead, and whereas May, a spring month, represents renewal and optimism that offers a hopeful contrast to the darks of a zombie apocalypse. And whereas the Township of Teaneck supports community efforts to increase knowledge about disaster preparation, social cohesion, and most importantly, the possible impending zombie apocalypse, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Teaneck, Bergen County, New Jersey, that the Township of Teaneck recognizes the month of May as Zombie Awareness Month, will strive to be an example of preparedness and a beacon of safety in the midst of a potential undead swarm, and will ask its state representatives to be active in fortifying our state against the risk of zombie apocalypse. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution is to be shared with our state legislative representatives, county leaders, and the surrounding municipalities in an effort to raise awareness of the importance of the fact that we all need to steel ourselves against the undead horde. I hope that you will pass this resolution at the next meeting and recognize that a zombie apocalypse is a real problem that we face, or could face, or may just be, you know, an easy thing for us to use as an avenue to deal with problems that we really do face. I emailed this to Doug already. I'll be emailing it to any of you who would like it. Thank you very much. Good night.
Miss Baker.
Margaret Baker, Teaneck resident. And I do have a sign. I think it speaks for itself. And I want you, the members of the council, to be sure and see it. This is what I have in my yard and my neighbors' yards about the building that was put up across the street from our houses. It's massive. 7 stories. Across the front of my house, I have over 100 windows. So can you imagine what that's gonna be when people move in and lights are on? The traffic is out of this world. And Dean, I appreciate what you've done. As far as the stop sign, that's a waste. They have 2 stop signs up and they don't stop. They just don't stop. I know it's new, but it doesn't work. I asked for double lines and speed strips to slow the traffic down. Now it's being stopped, and just where? In the front of our houses. The whole block, that's Teaneck. It goes into Inglewood. It doesn't help. It made it worse. And my concern, really, I've been coming up here nearly 20 years asking for this. Speed strips, yellow lines, and get nothing. And then you're gonna put up the building with 400 more cars at that intersection. It's not going to work. It's not working. And whoever, I think it was you, Councilman Organ, and Sandy, I don't know how she got in it. She lives on Warren Parkway,
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
and she wanted a stop sign.
Thank
She
you, Ms.
got
Baker.
it, but the ones that are on
Sorry, Ms. Baker, but your
Decatur
time is up.
can't get it.
Thank you, Ms.
So
Baker.
let's not have a double
Ms.
standard.
Baker, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your
Okay,
comments, ma'am.
because you're really getting into trouble
Thank you,
with
Ms.
a double
Baker.
standard,
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
and it's
Thank you,
not
Ms. Baker.
right.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Ms. Rogovan.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. Thank you. Paula Rogovan, I urge you to vote yes to memorialize the former resolution to oppose all forms of hatred and bigotry here in Teaneck. I urge people who are running for town council to pledge to support resolutions and efforts that are sensitive to all members of the diverse Teaneck community, not just one group. This is about democracy and justice. Number 2, people in Teaneck have spoken out over and over. We do not want areas in need of redevelopment. You just heard Mrs. Baker. This is an undemocratic way of doing development. It undermines the master plans. ANRs enable the town to skirt around the principles of development long agreed upon. ANRs undermine the will of the people. We want responsible development. By the way, all of the 9 AINRs, including the DPW yard, were declared by a majority of the former town council and some who are still on this council. And none of these areas impede the morals of our neighborhoods. Number 3, ANR talks about impeding the morals of our neighborhoods. 3, people spoke out in great numbers at your public forums about the Stop and Shop ANR. We spoke out, but it is clear some of you didn't hear us. There is no public support for the Stop and Shop ANR, the proposed construction of 3 large apartment buildings and a parking garage on our municipal parking lots. Number 4, municipal lots near Stop and Shop ANR were cleaned up. As soon as I spoke at the council meeting and showed you pictures of the construction debris, the porta potty and dead trees, was the DPW deliberately kept filthy so it lives up to its designation of an ANR? I'm not referring to the toxins. I'm not blaming the DPW workers. If we want it to be safe for the DPW workers and the public, it must be cleaned up immediately. The DPW currently doesn't have enough employees to pick up the garden debris on time. Hire more DPW workers now. Number 5, we don't want pilots, payments in lieu of taxes. They are gifts to developers. None of the money from taxes paid through pilots goes to the Board of Education. That means with increased school population from the new buildings, residents will be paying, we will be paying more taxes. Finally, number 6, it is never too soon to call for peace and a ceasefire in Gaza. People told us on October 17th at our demonstration, it was too soon. It is never too soon. I want to commend the high school students from Teaneck High who walked out back in November calling for a ceasefire. There are 35,000 people dead. There are 17,000 babies dead.
Thank you, Paula.
We must have a ceasefire, humanitarian aid, and we must follow the lead of the high school students who hosted
I
a
have to let
debate.
everybody else
Let's
speak, Paula.
have a
Mr.
debate
Mayor,
and
just for 3
discussion.
minutes are up.
Thank you, Paula. The lady in the aisle seat.
Heidi Fuchs, longtime Teaneck resident since 1972. While I acknowledge the importance of freedom of speech, when used to bully, harass, and intimidate, it is no longer a freedom, rather it is a crime. After I spoke at the last council meeting in Good and Welfare about the harassment and bullying I experienced by a local resident and her Instagram account, not just once, but now 2 times, not one council member expressed their outrage about the manipulated Good and Welfare videos. Not one council member shared their disgust at the use of Good and Welfare to bully those who come before you. Not one council member commented about the use of Good and Welfare materials to intimidate Township residents with the purpose to discourage exercising their free speech by coming before the council and sharing community concerns. I understand and support the right to free speech, the guarantees of the First Amendment, and the value of robust debate. But freedoms are not without limits, and much of what is going on in this town and in these meetings is not free speech. Menacing conduct and hate speech are inciting and do not warrant protection. Residents and protesters are entitled to their opinions, even if they are undemocratic, bigoted, sadistic, and warmongering ideas. They are not entitled to harass and menace. You have shown great restraints when dealing with decorum over the past few months, and I implore you to not allow what happened tonight to occur again. It is time for the council to speak with a single voice. The greatest threat to this township is mob-like ignorance and cowardly, indifferent leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. The gentleman in the peach polo. Oh, yeah, actually, Mr. Clerk, I make a motion to extend the meeting until midnight.
Nope.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David Mirsky, Teaneck resident. Mental health is very close to my family. Councilman Belcher, I see you on the Zoom. Thank you for taking steps and working with teams to help increase awareness around both this as well as creating a stigma-free environment for Teaneck. It would be great to see educational events and other types of events around that, not just resources listed on the town calendar. If they exist already, would love to see them posted. For those who are not on listservs to be able to participate. I've attended many throughout New Jersey, and they've been really helpful and eye-opening to help people in need and also to be able to help support people who are going through tough things. So I really appreciate that effort and would love to see us coming together as a community to help educate ourselves more around those events. Additionally, I know that you are also the head of the Affordable Housing Committee. I did send you an email regarding specifically about ADUs within TNEC. I'm happy to follow up with after this meeting, just to bring it to the top of the inbox. If you could help advise on some questions that I have there, that would be very appreciated. Additionally, I also want to make mention of the Arab Heritage Month, since we are talking about it. I think it's great. There are a lot of beautiful cultures across the diverse Arab communities. It's sad. I don't think many people would be able to recognize a traditional Lebanese garb from that of a traditional Moroccan garb. They're beautiful, they're colorful, they're ornate. And I think being able to sit down and have people talk, and I think it's extremely important to be able to share and learn people's cultures and histories, because that's how we grow together as a community, as mentioned before by many other people who have spoken. Additionally, Dean, I know there was some sort of track device put up on Club Road that we had been talking about. I sent you a note earlier this morning to find out if there is any feedback, since I do know that that device had been taken down recently, to know if there are going to be any next steps around traffic on Club Road for that. Second to last. I know that there was a request for on the corner of Alfred and Webster to look into a curved mirror, that the NJDOT kind of owns that bridge and said that they would not put a curved mirror or something to help there. Obviously, there is a complex traffic issue in that area, not just, as we will know, impending from the coming apartments, but also when everyone's trying to make a left from Alfred to Webster, there is a police monitoring device that is there. So I would like to know what we can do, or if we can look into ways in which we can help ease specifically on making a left from Alfred to Webster, but in general, in that cross, that would be most appreciated. And lastly, I'm happy to see a stronger police presence enforcing the rules of the road, as well as maintaining order and decorum within our streets. I do think there is more that can be done, so we can continue to encourage our officers for doing a great job and keeping our streets safe. So thank you all.
Thank you, David. Sir?
Okay, ready. Good evening. My name is Elchanan, and I am a resident of Teaneck, although originally from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you, Mayor, council members, and town manager. I come to speak tonight to address the climate here in Teaneck and around the world these past months. I want to recommend an amazing book I am currently reading, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Jew by Emmanuel Atro and Noah Tishby. I'd like to share 2 quotes by Emmanuel Atro from the book. Quote, above all, my objective for this process is to understand. I won't necessarily agree with everything that Noah has to say, and we won't come to a uniform point of view, but that's not the point. That's not how real conversation works anyway. I want to learn more, to see things differently, and I want the aperture of my mind to be open to a new perspective. May we find time and space to have conversations with our neighbors, to learn from each other and seek understanding. And let's keep in mind, and I quote Emmanuel Atro again, pressure bursts pipes, but also makes diamonds. Thank you.
Mr. Rose?
Thank you. Howard Rose, Teaneck resident. After October 7th, this council passed a resolution related to the incident. Soon after that, they passed another ordinance related to the incident. Tonight, ordinance regarding Palestine. And then it's brought up to have a second ordinance regarding the same situation. Reminds me of a statement by Ross Perot when he ran for president. Measure twice, cut once. Maybe you have to give a lot more thought to things before they come up for a vote. Whether they're appropriate or not is also debatable. A lot of people feel that it was completely inappropriate for a township to get involved in international politics. Other people think it's pertinent because they have specific relations, whether it's relatives, friends, acquaintances, whatever. Still debatable. I don't have an answer to this situation. No one has an answer to this situation. Certainly terrorists should be gone, gotten rid of. It's grievous. It's horrible to think of 1,200 people murdered by terrorists. It's horrible. It's terrible. It's horrendous thinking of 30-odd thousand people dead. Someone came into my store and started talking about this situation. I used the term genocide, and that person started commenting how it's not technically genocide. When you have to get into a technical situation about whether it is or it isn't, when X amount of people are killed, I think there's a concern there. I don't know where to go on this topic. It seems like it's never ending. It may never end. I don't know. But in terms of a township, we have to get back more to town business. I don't know what you're achieving at this point in time regarding it. What's your impact? You know, I was sitting in the back and I had a person not only yelling out and using a siren type device next to my hearing aid. Inappropriate. You know, if you have an opinion, you should certainly be able to voice it, but appropriately. A sign in the back that doesn't take away the view of the situation from people sitting in front of you is appropriate. A sign up front blocking people's view is not appropriate. Yelling, interrupting, being divisive, incendiary during a meeting is not appropriate. There's a lot of public venues to take your attitude to, regardless of which side and opinion you have regarding the situation. What's your objective as a council with all this discussion? Where are you going with it? What's the impact? I'm a resident, and like many residents, I wish you would tell me what you're doing and why. Thank you.
Mr. Siegel.
Good evening. My name is Rich Siegel. I left the meeting for a minute a little while ago to use the bathroom, and I witnessed 2 young women being arrested. And I think that's terribly, terribly sad. I have the sign that one of them was carrying before. I'm not going to interrupt the meeting, but I think that the statistic is accurate. I think that Israel is murdering Palestinian children at the rate of 1 every 10 minutes. And I think maybe every meeting on the planet should be interrupted until this insanity stops. I want to talk about what I think was a missed opportunity in this town. We had a big demonstration on March 10th at Keter Torah Synagogue against an Israeli real estate event. And at that time, there was another Israeli real estate event planned for the end of the month. The police chaplain organized a meeting between a leader of the Jewish community and a leader of the Muslim community. And the 3 of them got together, and the gentleman he's a director of a local mosque, asked the Jewish representative, who is a rabbi from a local synagogue, he asked him to please postpone the Israeli real estate event that was planned. He didn't ask to cancel it. He just said, you know, I'm not quoting, I'm just giving a general idea that he shared with me, that he said that emotions are running so high, it's just the wrong time to do it. Would you please postpone it? And the rabbi's response was no, that selling this real estate or promoting it is a religious obligation. Now, I'm Jewish, and I know it's not a religious obligation. And if you believe that violating international law by selling West Bank settlement real estate is a religious obligation, that's a problem. And if you're wondering why there's a lot of really bad sentiment about the Zionist activity in this town. It just needs to back off a little bit. Israeli Independence Day is coming up. It would be really helpful if there are no public displays celebrating it. Let's just chill for a while, please, Teaneck. Thank you very much.
Rabbi.
Elia Schreier, Teaneck resident of 3 years, rabbi of Congregation B'nai Yeshurun. I really was not planning on speaking tonight. I declined the opportunity at the beginning when members of clergy are offered an opportunity to speak. I just felt a need to respond and clarify some of the things that were just said. I was not the community rabbi at the meeting that was just described, but the event was supposed to take place in my synagogue, and it was postponed. It actually never ended up taking place. The reason why we did that was an attempt to bring about some measure of harmony and unity in this town. That was the gesture that was forwarded. The response was the following night when we heard from a humanitarian organization in my synagogue. There was nonetheless a protest outside it with all of the same vile rhetoric that we heard on March 10th. Don't let anyone point a finger at this community's rabbis in an assertion that we are the source of disunity in this town. And don't let anyone suggest that the source of unity will be Jews self-censoring themselves and not celebrating their personal identity and their pride in who they are. We are trying. We will continue to try with any partners that are available. But for those who are intent and doggedly determined to blame the Jews for all the problems in this town, let me say clearly, you are not a partner in moving this town forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Anyone else in chambers want to speak? Dr. Powers.
Powers question. I'm going to do something a little different, although I want to reiterate what you heard from Mrs. Baker. Those two new stop signs are absolutely not working. I think that your deputy manager knows that. We've gone through another 3 hours. I haven't heard a single word about the municipal budget. The municipal budget, if it had been introduced tonight, would have been 3 meetings late. Your only choice, unless you schedule a special meeting, are going to be that before we lose our manager, this town will not have an approved budget. There's reference to the fact that the closed session did in fact discuss cell phone towers. I assume that's somehow related to it. The public needs to know why 3 minute meetings late, we know nothing except the Kaczynski budget that you folks want to cut from what I thought was a pretty decent effort to get this town adequately serviced. You also mentioned that there is a $5 million grant being sought for a DPW building, and we have a capital budget, if you ever do introduce the budget, which provides for $6 million over the next 6 years for the 1500 River Road. That is one of the AINRs that you folks, your predecessors, put in play in 2019. No movement forward on it. The public has heard nothing about the DPW facility except the fact that it was going to be moved in the October 22 meeting of this council. The public needs to know what you folks are thinking about a property which risks the lives of residents and DPW workers every time they go into it. Also, I suppose we're now going to have some sort of additional meeting about a redevelopment plan that, so far as I know, this council has never authorized. Is it in fact the case that someone has authorized the planners to produce a redevelopment plan for the American Legion and Beverly AINR? Is it, in fact, being developed? Not legally, because it takes the action of the full council to, in fact, authorize the development or redevelopment plan you folks have said would not be moving forward in any way until the
Thank you, Dr. Powers.
master plan was passed.
Thank you, Dr.
All those
Powers.
questions. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
hope
sir.
you've answered.
And Doug, I think I see Sandy Silverberg on Zoom.
Bringing in Sandy.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me, Doug?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good evening, council. Mr. Manager, it's good to see you in the real. Mr. Clerk, get back off those crutches. You know, I came to the meeting tonight, but then I found myself turning into a pumpkin, so I went home. I was going to invite everybody, the entire Teaneck community, to our upcoming Friends of the Library book sale, which will take place not this weekend, we're collecting this weekend, but the next weekend. And it's a lovely event because there are books about everything under the sun, about every subject you could think of, for adults, children, everybody in between 0 and 100. So I heard a lot of good stuff tonight. The meeting started out with joy and so many positive things happening. And I think to myself, that's what we've got to remember that this is about, this council meeting. I don't have any prepared statement other than to say, I believe the town right now is teetering. It's a balancing act. If people can't speak their mind, well, then everybody accuses everybody of curtailing free speech. If all the business is interrupted all the time, then nothing can get done and everybody's blamed again. You know, the people have to take a little responsibility now, I believe. We have to decide to make it better. I believe in that. I believe in the same things that Cheryl is promoting. They don't all take place within a religious setting. Some of it is cultural, some of it is ethnic. But I think also that there is so much pain now that people can't hear other people because of their own pain is throbbing so hard in their ears. So let's take all of this and bring it to each other in other ways. Let's gather. Let the council reserve space and time and room for all of us to air and to try to learn to listen. Because I do think that we want to. I believe that we want to. I have to believe that. I've been in this town for too long. I've seen too much go on. So thank you for listening. I hope we can all try to work together. Let's
Thank
talk.
you, Sandy. Thank you. Mr. Kaplan.
Keith Kaplan, Teaneck resident. You can come to the mic and read the First Amendment. But when you permit and applaud violations of law, and let's be very clear, when you interrupt a meeting, when you hold up signs and sirens, when you violate the basic tenets of decency in civic life, you are violating the law. You don't lose your protection from the First Amendment for that, but you are an absolute hypocrite when you try to quote it. The person who interrupted this meeting was arrested for having a weapon in a municipal building, and she was arrested for trespass. That's not law-abiding. Jews around this world are facing terror right now. In Greece, a lynch mob today went looking for the Jew. They weren't interested in whether you were a Zionist or not. At Columbia, just over the river, commencement is taking place by the armed escort of police that are being compared to the KKK. In Michigan, they interrupted commencement in order to scream at people that spent 4 years just trying to get a degree in front of their family. And here in Teaneck, we have someone that says,
If we could turn the ringer off, please, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
in Teaneck, we have someone that says, don't celebrate a holiday that merely says you have a right to self-determination. For the 25th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel, they had a march through Teaneck. It went to Voti Park. They had dignitaries from the UN, our congressmen, a huge celebration. A pin oak was planted that still survives here in our yard. That same yard where that pin oak that oversaw the celebration, and by the way, there was another resolution for the 50th ceremony as well. That same yard has a dedication to the unfinished life of someone that was murdered and slaughtered in the Intifada. Tonight, directly across from that memorial, someone that calls for Intifada violated the laws and sanctity and decorum of this chamber and was put into a squad car right in front of the memorial of someone who was murdered in the Intifada. Don't say you're for law. Don't say you're for order. Don't quote the First Amendment as if you give a crap.
The lady in the hat, I saw your hand go up.
I really did not intend to speak tonight. But when I hear a woman say,
Name for the
oh,
record,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, Mindy Stein, 44 years residence of Teaneck. I was not going to speak tonight, but when I hear a woman say that she was sitting at the town council meetings since October and that no one is listening and hearing, I also have attended most of these biweekly town meetings, and I can say the same to you. Every time I speak, I say the same thing, that I am sorry for the Palestinian plight. But I have never heard anyone accusing Israel of genocide say they are horrified by Hamas's massacre of 1,200 to 1,400 people, including beheading babies and putting them in ovens.
Don't interrupt, Mr. Siegel, please. No
I
one
want more
interrupted you.
time. I
No one
want more
interrupted you.
time.
So please don't interrupt her.
Tying up families and burning them alive, and raping men and women, and then parading their nude bodies to the cheers of the Gazan people, and also taking 250 hostages, including
Don't
Americans.
interrupt, Mr. Siegel. Stop interrupting. No one interrupted you. Sorry about that, miss. Please continue.
Sorry. First of all, they took their own pictures and films. So to tell us this isn't true, Richard Siegel, you are wrong. They took the pictures. We have them. Okay, but that wasn't in my speech. And also taking 250 hostages, including Americans. And also Hamas saying that they will do October 7th over and over again. I will repeat, so listen carefully, that I wish there could be a ceasefire and stop the killing on both sides. I don't want anybody to die. And I repeat again that there could be a ceasefire if Hamas surrendered and released all the hostages. And I agree, since I have some time, what's going on the college campuses, that Jews are not allowed to go to class, that they're blocking them, that they're saying Hitler would love you. This is not for the Palestinians. This is plain old Jew hatred and incitement. And there's so much more that they're doing on the campuses. And for these Jews not to have their commencement, not to have graduation when they weren't even in school because of COVID, because of what pro-Palestinian people are doing, you've never heard a Jew say when there was genocide here created against our people by Hamas, that we should kill the Palestinians, that they should go back to Gaza, wherever. We've never said we're peaceful. I have to worry that my grandchildren working with a skull cap could be violently hurt by pro-Palestinian protesters. Nobody has to worry about a Jew doing that. We keep the law and we don't hurt anyone. We do listen, and I wish you would listen to me, and I wish somebody would say they're sorry instead of telling us this is a lie when it's recorded. This is like Holocaust denial. And last week, 2 weeks ago, to hear the priest say that the Holocaust memorial is divisive, the only thing divisive is his comment to say that. You don't care about our people being murdered. That's it.
Thank you, Miss. Thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Mr. Berliner.
I was going to make a motion that we go on with the town business at 11:30.
What about Zoom? There are people on Zoom.
Ian, you have 2 meetings left. Any second thoughts? He likes that one. Good evening, Avi Berliner, Teaneck resident, speaking as a member of the Playground Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, PPRAB. On behalf of the dedicated members of the PPRAB and co-chairs, Allison Davies and Christina Pami, we thank the council and township leadership for passing Resolution 94-2024, which awarded a contract for lawn care services for maintenance of baseball fields in Teaneck. This was an area of need and focus raised by residents, and the township responded. We thank the township's leadership for continuing to invest significant time and money to ensure that our fields and parks and the teams and organizations that use them are playing on safe, quality surfaces that we can be proud of. The agreement ensures that 10 baseball fields across 7 parks utilized by the Board of Education, Teaneck High School, TBO, Teaneck Southern, and other activities by residents and visitors are properly and professionally maintained. This includes proper clay mixtures, requiring an organic fertilizer program, defining the infield, cutting grass, and grooming. It benefits all levels of play: T-ball, little league, softball, baseball, high school, and even adult beer leagues. To my fellow residents, if you, your family, or friends use Amon Park, Brooks Park, Hawthorne Park, Phelps Park, Sagamore Park, Terhune Park, or even Voti Park, you already benefit from this program. If you don't, please do. But you also benefit now that the township employees and equipment can refocus on other critical areas of need. So thank you. As a personal matter and member of the South of Wyndham Commuter Alliance, I would like to talk about trains, not CSX, but New Jersey Transit rail, bus, and light rail service. As someone whose current commute includes driving to and parking in Hackensack, then taking the train to Hoboken on the way to Lower Manhattan, I, like many, are preparing for the coming taxopolis. While not unique to Teaneck, New Jersey residents, especially those in the northern suburbs of New York City, will be particularly hard hit. With the Board of Education increase expected to be at or close to the 2% cap, the recently approved Bergen County tax increase of 2.27%, and the municipal tax levy expected to increase by perhaps as much as 6%, we are going to be hit hard. But there's more. For those of us who call New Jersey home but have to commute into New York, the MTA and New Jersey Transit are teaming up and making matters even worse with a congestion pricing scheme that will disproportionately impact drivers coming from the west side of the Hudson River, and New Jersey Transit imposing a 15% fare hike across the board. NJT has the added chutzpah of modifying its ticket expiration policy, which will now cause all tickets purchased before the 1st of July to expire at the end of the month on the 31st. When purchased, these tickets had no expiration, and no fund is being offered for those who purchased in bulk prior to the formal announcement. I urge you in your official capacities to please reach out to our state and transit leadership in Trenton and urge them to reconsider these fare increases that predominantly impact those who are least able to absorb the shock: hardworking, lower and middle-class families. We should be improving transit accessibility, not putting up socioeconomic barriers to progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berliner. Mr. Sohn?
Alan Sohn, Teaneck resident, proud Zionist, looking forward to celebrating Israel Independence Day next week. What we've got here is a failure to communicate. One of my favorite lines from the 1967 film, Cool Hand Luke. Looks like Dean has seen it with Paul Newman. I think I'm ahead of you. Here in Teaneck, we have to engage each other. Before the council meeting on October 17th, I reached out to a number of fellow residents and said, we need to talk. I have met with many of these people, and while we have not resolved a single issue on international scale, we have gained a measure of understanding and appreciation of our individual perspectives. I'm happy to meet anyone, anytime for a cup of coffee. I spend most of my day drinking coffee, so I might as well talk. And I've reached out to many of these people. I have no opportunity to reach out to people calling in on Zoom. I have no idea who they are or where they're from. I cannot engage with people driving past in their cars, nor does shouting epithets across the street from a synagogue constitute conversation. I have tried to take the time to meet, engage, and get to know as many people as I can waiting online and here inside the chambers over the past few months. I'm not sure what people saw on Zoom. I was here in these chambers. Every single person has a right to exercise their First Amendment rights, which guarantees that Congress shall make for redress of grievances. But what happened here was not peaceable. It's outright disruption designed to prevent discussion. We need to bring back peace, love, and chickens to Teaneck, but we're not going to do it by shouting at each other. By disrupting council meetings, we are demonstrating that we have a real problem. As other people have, as Rabbi Friedman has, I want to thank Cheryl Hall. I want to thank her for being at the forefront of efforts at the helm of the Advisory Board on Community Relations and her role in interfaith efforts. Her efforts at such events as speed friending are a model for our community of something that could be done for us to get to know each other. It truly disappoints me that there were people who worked to boycott this and other such events where residents were given an opportunity to simply get to know a little bit about each other. I hope that we can build on this model. I hope that going forward, we as a township council, and as individual residents can find ways to talk, not shout at each other. I hope that we can use the resources we have to facilitate these efforts to genuinely listen to each other, hear each other, and respect our differences. What we've got here in Teaneck is a failure to communicate, and this has to end once and for all. All of you on this council have an opportunity to help facilitate that and make that happen. I hope that we can see all of you doing that and making those efforts to facilitate that communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Schwartz, were you making a motion or?
So I'd like to make a motion that we close good and welfare and move on with the township business.
Second.
Is being made, please. Ed, you can talk now.
I'd like the. We have.
Mr. Mayor, did
We're not
we
solving-
take a,
Wait,
Did we
Ms. Belcher, I'm sorry, Mr. Schwartz has the floor. Just give me a
We
second.
have town business, we have resolutions, and I'm walking out the door at midnight. We're not solving world peace. I have about 3 items to discuss. The rest of it was looking for world peace, which is not part of our purview.
Please don't interrupt him.
Paula, you've interrupted every single time. Every single time. You probably should not be allowed in this room. You don't listen. You don't stop when you're told not to.
Mr.
Come on.
Schwartz, please, sir.
So I call a motion that we move on at
Unnecessary.
11:30 with the town's
I
business.
think Ms. Belcher wanted to say something before we vote.
Ye-
and-
yeah, I mean, like, I'm on Zoom and I see that there are like 4 people that have had their hands raised for a long time. I think we owe them an obligation to at least have them be heard. I believe that we owe them that. So I think that, we've heard from everybody, I believe, in the chambers. Why don't we just listen, hear from these 4 people that have had their hands raised?
Anybody else want to comment? Ms. Organ?
Yeah, because it's 4 people on Zoom, one person in chambers is 15 minutes. You take 6 council people, they speak for 3 minutes. And now we're past midnight and we haven't looked at a resolution yet. So usually we try to cut off at 11 because of the drama we cut off and because of the presentations, we cut off at 11:30. So I'm in favor of moving on.
Anyone else, or can we vote on this? All right, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
That was a first from Councilman Schwartz and a second from Councilwoman Organ to close good and welfare. Councilman Schwartz, Councilwoman Belcher,
No, because there are 5 people waiting to speak.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G,
No.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes, because we have work to do. Mr. Schwartz, would you like to start us off, sir?
Yes, thank you very much. Just an update, two updates on stuff I did not talk about prior. As it relates to several people had asked and it texted me about what's the update on our good and welfare as it relates to the council policies we've been discussing. We had spoken with our legal counsel and I spoke with, started working on a draft, and we'll continue to have those conversations so we have the most thought out, either ordinance or resolution as it relates to good and welfare going forward. As it relates to chickens, I think we should all start thinking about what we want to do, if we like to reintroduce or have chickens reintroduced and vote on it, because I'm very close to working on that, agreeing with that. And lastly, in regards to the budget, I believe we discussed at the last meeting, perhaps Dr. Powers may not have been here. We're waiting for some cell phone tower work to get done in the hopes that that can drastically reduce our potential increase to the budget. I believe tonight, Mr. Manager, is that correct? Tonight we have one cell phone tower resolution if we ever get to it. And that'll relate to a consultant that will lead to proposals. And then we will hopefully be able to reduce the budget and their vote on it. As a reminder to whoever was around in 2014, the last time, I believe it was 2014, when we had a revaluation, that council budget went into maybe June. And if this, or even later, and if this one has to go later to save our residents millions of dollars, we will do so. So that was the update. There may not be an update the next budget at the next council meeting until we get through these pieces. But tonight we will be hiring a cell phone tower consultant as we work to sell the cell phone tower to take that revenue to offset our increase in statutory expenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Ms. Belcher?
Okay, yeah, I just wanted just a couple things. I feel that we really need to revisit the code enforcement officer, especially if we're considering things like trees and returning to chickens and even ADUs. ADUs, yes, I know a few people have reached out to me. The ordinance is going to happen because ADUs is an integral solution to affordable housing shortages in Teaneck. I will continue to work diligently with the planning board to ensure that the ADUs ordinance does make its way to the light of day. Mrs. Baker, I thank you for coming out and expressing your thoughts and your pain points, and they are all of our pain points. I feel very, very specifically, as I always have, about AINRs and about pilots. And I think we owe it to our residents to ensure that we're doing the right thing on regarding Stop and Shop. I think, Dr. Powers, I thank you also for reminding the council that a development plan must be authorized by the full council and not by a subcommittee. I want to thank Jose for coming out and sharing about resources. This being May being Mental Health Awareness Month, we must be reminded, especially during these trying times, the importance of mental health and mental wellness. I want to thank Sandy for your encouraging and inclusive words. And regarding the Arab American Heritage Resolution, none of the 7 of us are Arab. And therefore, I believe we can't speak for their experience. As an African American Christian woman, I don't pretend to speak for Teaneck's Arab community, but I do want them to be heard. It is important for us to resist any attempts to write a resolution about another culture's experience. The intent of this resolution is to celebrate our Arab community in ways that appreciates their contribution. This is not about international politics. This is a resolution that is intended to bring our community together. So I believe that on April 16th, we all received this resolution to end anti-Arab hate and to recognize Arab American Heritage Month. We all received the same resolution 21 days ago. I would simply ask my colleagues tonight to do the right thing and to vote in favor of the Arab American Heritage to end anti-hate, Arab hate, and to recognize the Arab American Heritage Month. Lastly, because faith and belief in our Arab American residents begins simply by us respecting their existence and appreciating their heritage by allowing them to define for themselves who they celebrate and how they celebrate their life experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Ms. Organ.
So when I started gathering my thoughts about tonight, and earlier in the meeting, I don't usually write a speech. I speak about my feelings throughout the course of the meeting. I was so happy with the positive way that the meeting started. The telecommunicators, almost all women, which was wonderful, and a wonderful Pledge of Allegiance. And Jesse's son Ian sitting here so nicely for so many hours with his big blue eyes. And of course, Mr. Holly and all that he's given back to the town. We have two great resolutions on our agenda tonight. We have the Reject Hate resolution, which everyone is in favor of. We also have Millichan, a resolution for that. This week is Nurses Week. This week is Teachers Week. Next week is Mother's Day. So it was such a nice, positive night and a way to really celebrate, of course, zombie awareness. And May 12th is National Chicken Dance Day. But just to celebrate the people that help us, the people that take care of us when we're at our worst, the people who teach us, the people that we send our children to be taught, and of course, our mothers. And we were going in such a good direction. And I have to tell you, I am on the Patriotic Observance Advisory Board, and I am so grateful for all of our veterans, for everything that they have done, and the veterans that live in Teaneck, and the fact that they're still active. I hope everybody will join us on Memorial Day at 11 o'clock on the green so we can celebrate those that we've lost. But watching what went on here tonight and watching it discussed as anti-free speech, anti-First Amendment rights is so heartbreaking and so upsetting. This was a staged event. Nobody went to the bathroom. There was a meeting of people who went outside, and then the screaming started. There was a gentleman that was waved in that was disruptive. I am so sorry for Ms. Fuchs for the harassment that she's gotten on social media. I have no doubt that when we walk out of here, everything that was done tonight will be on social media. This was a stunt. It was done for that reason. It was done to disrupt. We are here. We sit here till 11:30 to listen to people. The only thing this did was take time away from people who wanted to speak tonight and who wanted to be heard. All for First Amendment rights, but there's a time and a place to speak here, and we follow law and order, and there is a mayor who's in charge of the meeting, and it is his job to control order. And so starting to speak longer than your 3 minutes is not helpful, and making noise in the middle of a meeting is not helpful, and putting our police officers in danger is not helpful, and it is not okay, and that is not how you bring a town together. So as I say at every meeting, thank you to our police officers for keeping us safe. Thank you for everybody who came on out tonight. And I have texted the attorney and asked him if he would possibly put the chicken ordinance back on the agenda for the next meeting. I feel like we all need a little bit of chickens in our lives. We need a little bit of things that are only going on in our backyards. And so Ian won my heart, as I'm happy to meet with Jesse to craft it, but he has to bring Ian with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Organ. Ms. Goldberg.
Wow. All right, so congratulations again to Tamba and his family on his incredible achievement. It's really special to hear and see people sharing on such a special moment. That's what Teanac's about. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have a resolution on CSX, and I would like to thank and acknowledge Mr. Art Batsky for that. There's significant work for this council to be doing, and there's nothing that will stop me from getting the work done for the residents of Teaneck. Art and I have spent countless hours talking about CSX, and there's work to do, but this is the first step. Mrs. Baker, thank you for coming tonight. What happened to you? I wish I could have been more helpful, and I'm happy when I hear members of this council learning from the past and trying things differently. Dean, can we look into the traffic measures requested by Mrs. Baker, please? Arab Americans are an ethnicity representing individuals with roots in 22 countries located in the Middle East and North Africa. Teanac's Arab American population represents individuals of all races and religions in this town, including Christian, Muslim, and Jewish. Arab Americans have a beautiful, diverse culture that are united by language, history, and culture, and heritage is a celebration. I've spoken to residents of this town from Morocco, Syria, Iraq, Algeria, and we should celebrate their heritage. There are two resolutions for Arab American Heritage Month on the consent agenda. One was placed on the consent agenda on Thursday. While I don't think it's celebratory the way Heritage Month should be celebrated, I support that resolution, and I fully support and will vote in favor of the resolution that was submitted on Thursday. I want to say thank you to Congressman Josh Gottheimer for his bipartisan resolution passed 377 to 44 to 1, declaring from the river to sea Palestine will be free as outright anti-Semitic and should be strongly condemned. The slogan from the charter of a terrorist organization, the United States Congress has said, is an anti-Semitic slogan that perpetuates hatred against the state of Israel and the Jewish people. The United States Congress says that anyone who calls for the eradication of Israel and Jewish people are anti-Semitic and must be condemned. Words have meanings. They are not folk songs. They don't mean different things to different people. Words matter. So anyone who spoke those words tonight, just like I condemn all other hate, I condemn those words. Anti-Semitism has no place in this town, this council chamber, or any other meetings. What you saw here tonight is happening in city council meetings all across the country. The protests in the streets, the violence, anti-Semitism taking place that is so bad that Jewish students are unable to be kept safe on college campuses. All of this is taking place all over the country. Columbia University did not pass a resolution condemning Hamas. Bogota did not pass a resolution condemning Hamas. Rutgers University did not pass a resolution condemning Hamas. There is anti-Semitism in this town, not because of any resolution passed by this council unanimously. There is anti-Semitism in this town because Jew hate is real. Jew hate is here, and Jew hate is all over this country and world. I agree with Dr. Powers, Josh Perez, Howard Rose. This council has work to do, and I have been working and will continue to be working, but I will not be silent in the face of the worst anti-Semitism since the Nazis. I call on the President of the United States to demand Hamas release all of the hostages.
You, Ms. Goldberg. Ms. G.
So today we witnessed a disruption to our council meeting in the form of a loud alarm going off every 10 minutes. We witnessed our mayor, the presiding officer of this meeting, repeatedly ask the resident to turn off the alarm. After the third disruption, Mayor Pagan was forced to ask the resident to leave council chambers. While I recognize that the mayor absolutely reacted in the appropriate manner to this act of civil disobedience, it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge why this happened. Ms. Awadallah said it best. We as a council have not been listening. There are certain community members who still do not feel heard by this council. Even if unintentional, that is the way that they are receiving this council. So much so that they are resorting to acts of civil disobedience. While as a deputy mayor, I must condemn disruption to our official proceedings, as an individual always seeking to understand the perspectives of others, I absolutely understand why this happened. We have to make sure that our residents feel heard in an equitable way. To quote Margaret Baker, we cannot have double standards. We need to step out of our comfort zones and deeply attempt to understand how others may be feeling if we truly want to achieve healing in this town. So how can we do this tonight? Denise has introduced an Arab American Heritage Month resolution. It was actually the first one that was ever shared with this council on April 16th. She accidentally sent the wrong resolution on Thursday that this council, I believe, is going to support instead of the more detailed resolution. In the past, we have given credence to the communities that are most touched by the resolutions that we are proposing. Tonight, I ask my colleagues that we do the same thing. Please support the more detailed Arab American resolution. If you want to show your residents that you care about them and you truly value them in a way that is equitable, please support that resolution. What's another way that we can show our residents that we value them? I heard someone say today that we shouldn't be celebrating Israel independence. That's ridiculous. Of course, people should celebrate Israel independence if they have a connection to that community. So as a council, we should say that out loud. I heard my fellow council colleague talk about there's anti-Semitism in the town. There is. There's anti-Semitism. There's anti-Muslim activity in this town. There's anti-Blackness in this town. I wasn't going to talk about it in this forum, but just a few weeks ago, my son was called the N-word in school by another kid in his classroom. There's all sorts of racism going on in this town. It's not just anti-Semitism. And we as a council have to address all of it, not just one. And when we address just one, we start to make people feel like we don't care about all residents in this town. And that's what people are trying to say. Next, I want to just say that I was deeply disappointed in our closing of Good and Welfare with only 5 people left to speak. Why couldn't we spare 15 minutes for these people? 15 minutes. If we want to have shorter Good and Welfares, we have to step up as leaders and again, create the conditions that people don't want to come to these meetings anymore. Until then, I think we should continue to let everyone who comes have a moment to speak. Finally, I just want to address a comment I heard that people were asked to boycott events for community building. That is false. No one in this council has ever asked to boycott any events. I've never heard of anyone asking to boycott any events. So I would ask that people to stop perpetuating misinformation that just further divides this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. G. First and foremost, I want to thank all of our residents for coming out tonight and participating. Secondly, I'd like to apologize for the episode earlier this evening, but as the presiding officer of these meetings, I cannot let anyone repeatedly interrupt our meetings as we try to conduct township business. I warned both individuals several times to please stop interrupting the meeting, but they kept refusing to stop interrupting our meeting. So I had to ask them to leave so that this council could conduct its business for the township. And to find out that one of them had a weapon on them is actually very disturbing. But we actually still have a lot more work to do tonight, so I'm going to stop there. Mr. Manager, is there anything you would like to add or say?
Sure, just a couple things quickly. Club Road, Mr. Mursky, I don't have that data yet from the police department. I should have it very soon. When I do get it, I will share it with you. The mirror on Webster by Alfred, that intersection is controlled by DOT. The mirror is not an approved device, so we cannot put anything there. DOT will not put anything there. The Alfred Avenue stop sign, I know we've tried for a long time to get the 3-way stop and finally got DOT, who controls that intersection as well, to finally do it, which they did recently in March. I sent an email to the police chief tonight to have enforcement done at that intersection, make sure there's compliance with the 3-way stop. With regards to DPW, our special projects engineer is finishing up the field work, the survey that should be done tomorrow. This includes the mapping of the environmental constraints at Public Works and the underground utilities, and they should have that field work converted to a working plan in about 2 weeks, they said. Then we'll start on the conceptual plan and design. I will meet with the special projects engineer with our DPW staff in about 3 weeks, and just keep in mind that talk about renovation, DPW, new building has been going on for 4 decades. So, you know, this council has been very supportive of that project, and we are, you know, very close to getting this done. I hope the timeline is that we break ground in 2025. So we're on the right track.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Our next order of business is the consent agenda, and all matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature by council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If any discussion is desired by council, that particular item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the amount of the bill list into the record?
Yes, Mayor, we have our consent agenda this evening, which does 2 sets of minutes. Resolutions 124 to please remember 138. Your agenda packets go up to 135, but we had 136 mental health, 137 which was the council liaison designation, and 138, which was our Arab Heritage Month. And the bill list in the amount of $14,042,194.12.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to pull Resolution 128, 2024, please.
What numbers are that? I'm sorry.
128, 2024.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I actually want to pull all of them, but instead of pulling all of them, I'd just like to quickly read through what we're voting on tonight, if I may. I just think it's really important that everyone realizes why I've asked to stop talking about world peace, to talk about the reaffirmation of hate within the township, appointing a chair to our municipal open space trust, an application for improvements at the exercise station at Phelps Park, agreement with Bergen County on snow plowing, Nelden and Schumacher road improvements that we're awarding a contract. We're awarding a contract for Voti Park tennis court lights. We are working on it, but we're reducing a performance bond as we finish up the Haluba Park Lane townhouses. We are working on asking our elected officials to help with dangerous conditions from the freight lines. That's the Art Vatsky project. We are awarding a Beverly Road parking that the manager discussed, a parking lot. We're working on Teaneck Fire Department Station 4 to redo that. And the designated the month is May's Military Appreciation Month. If anyone in that 30 seconds doesn't realize how important all that is to the township of Teaneck, that is really the business of Teaneck. And that's what I try to focus on and not rush through with a quick vote of council. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that whatever wasn't pulled, that we approve, as well as the bill list and the amount that the clerk gave.
I think Deputy Mayor G has a question.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilman Schwartz. I agree that all of that is really important, but our residents have agency, right? They raise their hands and they get to decide what they want to talk about. They have access to this. If this is what they want to talk about, they can raise their hand and talk about it. It's not for us to decide what part of council we want residents to spend more time on, like 15 minutes, let residents be heard. I think that's valuable.
Was that a motion?
Yeah, there's a motion on the.
Second.
Anyone else? We call the roll. Seeing no hands, Mr. Clerk?
Oh,
Wait,
yeah, I
Ms.
do have a
Belcher?
question. What are we pulling? What are we pulling?
Councilwoman Goldberg, correct me if I'm wrong.
128.
Yes, 128.
I think that was the only thing that was pulled.
That's snow plowing with County of Bergen.
Okay, that's the only thing. Okay. You can
And
proceed.
I believe we had the first motion from Councilman
Yes.
Schwartz. Second was
That's one.
Councilwoman Oregon, Councilman Schwartz.
Yes, and recuse on, I believe 2401-829 on the bill list might be the Jewish link or might be a typo, but I'm not sure. So I'm not going to vote on 2401-829 for $699 for the Cedar Lane Sid advertising.
And everything else was cool.
Very much so, sir.
Cool. Thank you, Councilman Schwartz. Councilwoman Belcher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Yes on all with an abstention on 138, 2024.
Councilwoman Oregon.
Yes to all.
Deputy Mayor G.
Yes to all. I think did you get Denise already? Never mind. Yes to all.
Thank you for double checking, though. Mayor Pagan.
Yes to all.
All right, everything approved.
All right, our
And we
next
had
order of
128, resolution
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
128. It's all good. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Goldberg. Did you extend to midnight?
Oh, we need to
No,
do that.
Talk about snow plows.
Yeah, I make a motion to extend the meeting to 12:15.
Second.
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Ms. Goldberg.
Okay, so I have a quick question for the manager on the snowplow resolution. So the contract has us getting paid $115 an hour for the county plowing from the county. This resolution was the same exact amount as last time. So do we know how much we're paying for snow plowing, either when we're using outside contractors or internally with overtime costs plus the equipment? Like, is this close? Is this what's your, insight on this one?
No, the 115 an hour is on the light side. When it comes to DPW staff, they're generally on overtime, time and a half, and you combine that with fuel costs, maintenance. You're probably exceeding the 115. And keep in mind that when we hire outside contractors, we haven't had to do that in 2 years because we now have sufficient staff and equipment to do our roads, and the snow hasn't been too bad. We generally pay the outside contractors $250 an hour. The county, for any snowfall, any snow event, gives us 80 tons of salt. We have to pick that up from the county DPW, and that's to salt the county roads such as Cedar Lane, River Road, Defer Avenue, and Teaneck Road. So we are reimbursed. And then any roads we do plow, county roads we do plow, we keep a track of all the hours, and we submit that bill to the county. But just the 150, you're asking me, my opinion, professional, is on the light side, hourly, for the hourly rate for Christmas.
Sorry, so what do you recommend that we do, if anything, on this? Is there anything that we can do to the county, like ask them for anything or? review?
I think if council directs me, I can forward a letter to the county executive telling him to re-examine, look at the hourly rate.
I would like to ask Dean to do that if there's support. Yeah.
Same.
Good.
Ready to vote?
We can vote for, Dean, should we vote on it now or should we, vote on it now and then do the letter? Yeah, this is a 2-year contract. Okay. Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Councilman Schwartz. Councilwoman Belcher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G.
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes.
Adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Our next order of business is our introduction of ordinances. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the title of the ordinance into the record?
Yes, sir. Last but not least this evening, we see for the first time ordinance number 9-2024, amending section 36-11.2 of chapter 36, the Township Code for Township of Teaneck, adding restricted on-street parking space for handicap parking at 46 Warner Place.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Schwartz. Councilwoman Belcher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G.
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes.
Introduced. We will see it.
I make a
May 21.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Please get home safely. Sleep well.